Hello, welcome to Xbox Infinite episode number 43. Sorry, I was laughing at myself and something stupid that I did that no one else is laughing at, but whatever. Welcome to the show. We have an absolutely amazing show for you this week. We have some absolutely amazing guests, and I won't mess around. I'll jump straight into introductions. Hargeet Chani, mate, how you doing? How's your week been? Welcome to the show. What have you been playing?
Yeah, it's been kind of busy. I've been in several podcasts now, and have another one tomorrow as well. But yeah, some interesting topics, some news in the last day or so with Stadia. It'll be good times.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very good times. We've got some great topics for the show today. Mr. Inferno, welcome to the show. How you doing? Been a long time coming. What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Oh, man. Thanks for inviting me, man. Glad to be on the show. Been playing with good old Bushido. I'm sure you guys have heard of that guy. Been playing with him with Remnant from the Ashes and been dabbling in Fortnite. I've gotten hooked on that, surprisingly. Used to be a hater. And got so many other games that in the backlog is ridiculous right now. So I'm swimming. I'm swimming in games.
Absolutely. And they say that Xbox has no games. That's craziness. I'll go straight to our panelists and say g'day first, and then I'll drop to our last guest, and we'll move into something a little bit different for the show. But we'll get to that in a minute. Dude, Cutie, how you doing? How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Hey everyone, I have been really good this week. I've been playing a lot of Grounded with my fellow panel members. They've been scaring the life out of me. Mostly I've been scared of other people's footage of the game because I have my arachnophobia settings to 5. So all I see is these blobs that are coming at you. If you want to check out that footage, you can have a look at it on my Twitter. I was also on GameSet Live yesterday with KY Bob and his crew. That was really fun. But yeah, I've been having an awesome week and can't wait to get into topics with you.
Awesome. Yeah, it is going to be a great week. Arachnophobia settings to 5. Shameful as an Australian. Absolutely shameful. Jedi Knight. Peter, how you doing? Welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been up to? Talk to me. What have you been playing?
Yeah, great, mate. Really looking forward today. Really special guest today. Really been looking forward to it. Been playing Grounded with you guys. Footage is up on the screen. Just really, really fun to get a crew together and jump into that game. It's a little bit different. If you guys have played Ark, it's similar in style with that. Been playing a little bit of Primordials, a little bit of Immortals Phoenix Rising, a little bit of Song of Iron, a little bit of everything. But looking forward to this. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. It shows you what a small dev team with resources can do. And it is a really good game, but we will get into that later on. Infinite Umbra, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show. How's your week been? What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Oh man, I'm good. I've been playing a few things. I was actually feeling a bit down this past week here, but once I jumped in, I played some Grounded with you guys, and you know how I play. So if you all don't know in the audience, and yes, I play. So I actually try to survive. I don't like to die. So when they ventured out to go out into these, I call it woods, but it's really grass, and face these spiders and things like that, because I'm arachnophobic as well. My black genes kicked in, and I allowed them to go and venture out first. And if they survived, perfect. We have us a new camp. Yay, team. But if not, I told you all not to go out there. That's what I would say. But yeah, I've been enjoying that and enjoying the guys that, carrying me through Grounded and, leveling me up and getting us up there. And once I get better, I'll act like I carried the team. Absolutely. Happy to have everyone here with us today, by the way.
What he's saying is that he runs away often. And
very much.
More just stands in the background and just watches and doesn't do a damn thing.
I'm the watcher. I revive people. That's how I got that achievement.
He doesn't even do that. He just runs away.
I just want to say that I popped that achievement first, and they only gave it to you because the team did it so much.
That is not true. That is absolutely slander.
We'll move on to our final.
Cutie has done nothing, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Cutie has contributed nothing to us. She's stolen from my baskets and everything. I just want to throw that out there.
We got a thief amongst us.
Tell me how you really feel.
We'll jump into our final guest. and the one that I'm extremely excited for, Tyson. Tyson is the lead director of a game called Hollow Hero in a series of games called Primordial Legends. Welcome to the show, mate. Great that you came along. Great to have you here. How you been? What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, no, really keen to be here. It's going to be awesome. I just want to say, I was watching that intro. I've got like it's up on the other screen. That intro is dope. So like, good work whoever chucked that together because that's wicked. But yeah, no, in classic game developer fashion, I haven't actually been playing anything, man. Trying to get ready for PAX Australia and stuff. So it's been mostly working on the game as opposed to actually playing games. But I'm a Halo fanboy, and I'm so whenever I get a chance, I'll play a couple of rounds of Infinite or something like that, hoping that it can get back on its legs and we can maybe get back to that golden era of like Halo 3 multiplayer and stuff like that. But it's mostly been pretty quiet, but I'm doing well, working hard, and yeah, we're moving. It's good.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, look, I didn't chuck it in the topics list, but there was a bit of conjecture about Halo this week and a bit of back and forth about whether the rumors are true, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But now, while we've got you here, we obviously want to talk about your game, which looks really, really amazing, which is why I reached out to you and wanted to talk to you. And obviously, you're an Aussie developer, which is a little bit of a rarity.
Yes.
So look, I wanted to ask you just a few questions and give the audience a bit of an idea about the game and what you guys are about and what you're up to. Can you give us a little bit of background on who you are, like as a developer, how long you've been developing games, what games you've worked on personally, as a studio, and how the studio came about?
Yeah, 100%. So for me personally, funnily enough, I mentioned Halo. So like I'd finished like Halo 3 all the way back in 2007. I would have been in like grade 9 at the time. And I was just so like overcome with emotion when that trilogy kind of came to an end that was when I decided that I wanted to be a games developer. It's pretty funny because like, you know, I went up to my parents and I'm like, I'm going to make games for a living. Like that's what I want to do. And they kind of fobbed it off, which is fair because like 2 weeks beforehand, I wanted to be a professional WWE wrestler. So like, I can understand them like not quite believing. And it was just, oh yeah, it's just another phase. But then, you know, like a year later, I was, you know, they asked me again, I was heading into college. They're like, you know, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'm going to make games. Like, this is what I want to do. And all of my stuff focused in on like, you know, art and mathematics and English so that I could do writing and different stuff like that. And, yeah, they realized that I was like super serious about it. And yeah, it's just kind of keep moving from there. And I've been, incredibly blessed to basically know what I've wanted to do and what my like life's calling from a career standpoint has been my entire life. So around 2000, I finished high school in 2011, so year 12, and then I moved to Melbourne to study a bachelor's degree in interactive entertainment, majoring in games design, which I fast tracked, so did that in 2 years. And the reason that's relevant and important is that's where I actually met my current team now. So we were all friends through university. Yeah, we were like working on just different projects and obviously learning the tricks of the trade and stuff like that before we ended up working on kind of, it was our final major games project and we worked on that together. And what that was like a first-person shooter that was designed to be non-lethal, and it was called Toybox. Now, the name of the company, of my company and my team's company, is called Toybox. So it's this whole link thing. But basically, Toybox was basically meant to draw from like the Call of Duties and Halos, but turned it into like a non-lethal game that parents were willing to give to their small children. So instead of like having, you know, like actual bullets and stuff, these toys were just running around with like pencils and Nerf guns and stuff, like taking each other out. So it worked out really cool, which was awesome. But yeah, so we did that, and then we kind of went our separate ways for a little bit. I went on to do a master's degree in animation, games, and interactivity. And we all kind of just went off and did our own separate things and stuff like that. But then maybe 2 years after we'd finished uni, like we were still talking to each other pretty regularly and stuff, and we're like, do you want to just like make a game? Like, do you want to just come together, make something, work on it? And we're like, yeah, that sounds awesome, right? Like we weren't really feeling the Australian games industry at the time. Like there is some incredible games that have come out of Australia, and we're really well known for like making incredible like mobile hits, especially at the time, because that was like, you know, 2013, 2014 was like Jetpack Joyride, Fruit Ninja.
Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, Fruit Ninja, Crossy Road, all those kind of like massive hits, right? But we tried to like sort of delve into mobile games a little bit, but it wasn't our vibe. Like we realized that we weren't interested in making those kind of games. It wasn't like, it's nothing against those games. We just weren't interested in making them. Like as we became developers because we wanted to make a certain style of game, and it's, you know, a bunch of us are WoW players. I'm, you know, super into like Halo and Mass Effect and just these massive world building, incredibly deep lore style games. And we knew that was the kind of stuff that we'd want to try to tackle. So we're like, okay, cool, we're coming together, but if we're going to do this, we should do it right. You know, I'm sure you've heard of just the myriad of like terrible issues that young indie developer teams have come through where like their contracts weren't set up or they just get screwed over by a publisher or something like that. And we just weren't interested in it at all. So we're like, okay, we're going to do everything by the book. We're going to make sure we, you know, go to a lawyer for all our legal stuff. We're going to go to an accountant for all our accounting stuff. And we're just going to be basically like held accountable, and we use like a democratic system to basically vote. So there's 7 of us who are directors at the company. And yeah, basically it's democracy decides where we head in certain directions and stuff like that. And we all respect that system. And it means that, you know, after what has almost felt like 6-7 years that we've kind of been technically a business, we're still moving forward despite the fact that we basically have zero financial backing except for the stuff that we do ourselves. And then of course it was about figuring out what we wanted the name to be, and we thought, like, we were thinking about it, but then I believe it was Yasin, who's the producer and one of my fellow directors, was like, why don't we call it Toy Box? Like that was the thing that we kind of came together on. And initially the idea of Toy Box Game Studio sounds really cool because it's like opening up a box of like interesting things, and obviously as a kid, like that's where your imagination like runs truly wild, and we thought that was a really cool sort of premise to be a container around the kind of universes we wanted to create. Yeah, so there's that, and then we started conceptualizing and coming up with ideas. During this time, each of us has still worked our individual jobs. So a couple of the guys work as university lecturers, so they do like a ton of the like, you know, preparing all of the course material and all of that sort of stuff, which is awesome. And then we've got a couple of guys that have worked who on different games like AFL, Ben 10 and stuff like that, which is cool. And then Yasin, who I mentioned earlier, he currently works at Big Ant, and he's working on a bunch of the cool sports games there. And then for me personally, I've done work on Fortnite. So that was as part of a animated series that we created, which was called We Will Be Monsters, which was released as part of the last year's Halloween event, which was really, really awesome to see work that I'd done be put into Fortnite. Like that was really, really cool. Worked on a ton of like trailers, which are super NDA, which I can't talk about. And then of course, also worked on like a Netflix original series called Battle Kitty, and stuff like that. And from all of this experience that we've got, we take that external experience and we bring it back into working on our game. And then obviously that leads us to what we're doing now, which was like, we want to create a project that is something that we can be really, really proud of, and is basically representative of the kind of games that we want to make. Now, anyone in the audience, or maybe even people in the chat here, might have been aware that, well, like, we've been around for a lot of years, and we were originally showcasing a game called Primordials Fireborn. Now that game, in classic indie fashion, we'd kind of bitten off more than we could chew. That came about from the fact that we'd kind of put together like a vertical slice and a demo of this world, of the Primordials universe, which is, you know, what we're showing off today and stuff like that. And yeah, we kind of fell into the issue where, even though a lot of the publishers we'd spoken to after we put this vertical slice together, they were all like, look, you guys are clearly like super talented. Like, this is dope. We just don't believe you can make it, right? And it basically came down to that, because as a team, we collectively hadn't really done much more than, say, like our university projects or our little indie projects and stuff, our little like game developer game jam projects and stuff. We hadn't released any major titles. And the general consensus we got was that, you know, we understood that the size of the game we were trying to make for Fireborn, which was meant to be like a 10-hour experience, it was just out of our reach if we weren't going to get financial support. And a lot of like developers that we really respect were like, well, maybe you should like maybe you should work on something smaller first and then go from there. And then that way you've basically got proof that, you've got proof that
of
you guys can.
concept, really.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly right. You can prove that you can basically walk the walk, ship something to completion, and then you're all happy, right? And we're like, okay, cool, but we're really invested in this universe that we've created, right? Because we'd spent so much time developing the lore and the characters and everything. So we decided to like Primordials Fireborn, it's not cancelled by any measure. We more just sort of pivoted our approach to the way that we were making the game. So what we evolved that into and what we're showcasing now, what we'll be showcasing at PAX next weekend, is called Primordials Legends Hollow Hero. And what's cool and it's exciting to talk about now is what I don't think a lot of people realize is so much of Fireborn is actually being reused in this project, but we're doing it in a way that we're creating like a really solid 3-hour experience for players that can also prove that we can get a game to market without necessarily needing financial backing. But if we get financial backing, then cool, we can pump it out way quicker. So like our main character...
I thought that was a really interesting point that you just made there, without financial backing. Now, a lot of people that make games in Melbourne get Victorian government funding, but you decided to go Kickstarter, and I got to commend you on that, mate. Congratulations.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was crazy. Like we went into the Kickstarter with basically no audience, right? And now because of kind of the success of our like interesting concept, right, which was this like, this wombat combatant that's like, just going around kicking ass and stuff like that. Like people like really fell in love with that idea.
A combat wombat, you might say.
Yeah, that's what some people might say. Yeah, exactly right. Which is obviously the viral tweet that went off, which was really, really cool and stuff. So yeah, exactly that. So it's been really, really cool to see like, something we've been working on, because obviously we've been working on this during like, global pandemic, man. Like, it's been COVID and stuff and, kind of, for lack of a better term, working in the dark. And then putting this game like out into the universe and just kind of hoping that people really enjoy it. Like that's scary. That's really scary when you've worked on something that long.
Tyson, let me ask you, brother, because you kind of covered it. I think you kind of gave us a cold covering of everything.
You did.
I'm like, this brother is breathless. He is.
You know me. I love the sound of my own voice, bro. You got no idea.
You did not miss.
It's all good, brother. It's all good. But I was going to ask you, because it's always been something I've always loved as far as gaming, and hearing that you're talking about Halo like that, by the way, you have to join us sometime. You know that, right?
Please,
we have Halo community nights. Yeah, absolutely.
I have to admit though, I'm a bit of a sweat. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't worry about that. We have Attack of the Sex Bots, by the way, guys.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, sounds awesome.
But yeah, definitely join us. We have a few sweats that join us, and it's actually one brother who destroys all of us. But
he's talking about me.
No, it's definitely not risky.
I actually, what was it? They had a Halo. I think it was for Halo 5. They had a competition at PAX before it finished up, which was in 2019. And I entered that, and I ended up getting up into the grand final. I got third, which was crazy because like a bunch of people came to me afterwards, and of the 4 of us that were in the final, those 3 were actually pros. Like they get paid to play Halo. Like, who the hell are you, man? I'm like, I just like Halo, man. I just like playing it. Like, they're just like, dude, it's fucking insane that you're even out here. I'm like, I'm a bit of a sweat, man. But no, it's good.
The last actual competition I got into for Halo was a Halo CE. That's how long it's been where I actually tried to compete, and I actually won. That was way back at like a GameStop. It is. But I was going to ask, brother, because I've always loved gaming. I'm sure you much the same. But I wanted to ask, what exactly for you had got you to get into gaming like that? Well, what made you want to become a game developer?
Yeah, well, like I said, Halo has a very, very, very special place in my heart. Like 1 and 2 were like awesome, but it was only 3 that I kind of got into the multiplayer side of things, which I enjoy. But I'm at my core, I'm a storyteller. Like I always say to people, if video games didn't exist, I would have been a movie director. Like that's kind of the path that I would have head down. Like I'm interested in that kind of stuff. So obviously Halo I recognize as like the catalyst for me. Like I finished Halo 3. It was that moment, like for anyone who's played it, where like you're going and the rings exploding as you go off the arc and stuff like that. And there's that incredible moment where like the warthog goes flying into the ship and stuff. And then there's obviously that moment where Cortana, like it finishes out and Cortana says to Master Chief, and it's the first time you hear his name in a game. It's like it's been an honor serving with you, John. And I just got I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. Flooded with goosebumps. I'm like, the music was swelling. I'm like, it's so fucking perfect. Like you have no idea. It was so good. And the second that hit me, it was like this nirvana, like this just epiphany where I was like, I need to recreate this feeling for other people. Like that was what kind of hit me, right? Like I've always had a huge appreciation for the craft of making games, because I feel like, you know, when you're watching a film, like there's incredible films out there, but you are an observer, right? But like for me, like when I finished Halo, like even though that was the story of like Master Chief and stuff, like that was me. I had finished the story, right? And that's why I think video games are so beloved and popular, is because there's that deep internal interaction, and that's the thing that I love, right?
Well, look, let me riff off that and just ask you a bit of a question about what it's like to be a developer within Australia, because there's, I would imagine there's not many of you, as you were talking about before, and a lot of those developers are focused on the mobile industry. And as Pete mentioned, the government does fund, but they don't fund as much as they should, or I don't think as easily as they should either. We know that, but from a developer's standpoint, what is it like, and what challenges have you faced being a studio that lives in Australia and develops in Australia?
Yeah, look, it's hard. We definitely bounce off of each other a lot. Like it's good having, like, you know, while we are colleagues, we're mates first, and that means that we kind of come at each other with a very sort of straight attitude. So if one of us is being an idiot, like we'll call them out, right? And I think that's what's kind of resulted in sort of our tenacity and our sort of fortitude as a group. The Australian like funding bodies, it has dramatically improved. Like Screen Australia has recently reintroduced like a funding opportunity, which I think was originally cut during like the Abbott government when that was over and stuff and shit like that.
Yeah, Andrew's government has really stepped up, hasn't it, Tyson?
Yeah. Victoria's always been mad. Like Victoria, like they say like there's incredible developers all over Australia, right? But the general consensus is that like Melbourne's the games developers hub, right? And it kind of was mainly because of the amount of funding opportunities that were there, and also because there's a ton of studios.
Rockstar Bondi were the preeminent studio when they made LA Noire. They were first ones to put that CGI into a game. But you're right, Melbourne has always been the artsy center of Australia.
That's it. I think because just there's so many studios, right? But like, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, you know, obviously there is incredible studios everywhere, like Team Cherry in Adelaide, for example, working on Silksong, the second Hollow Knight, right? Like those guys are ridiculous. I think they're like number 3 on like most wishlist game right now on Steam or something like that. Like that's absolutely insane. And then of course we've got like Ubisoft and Wargaming in Sydney. And then, and just like tons of like different studios. But yeah, like the majority of studios that I know are in Melbourne. I think that's partially why Melbourne International Games Week, which is happening next week, happens. So that's GCAP, which is the Gamers Connected Asia Pacific Convention, PAX Australia, different stuff like that.
Most of them are mobile studios, aren't they? And what you did, I think elevates you above all of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think once upon a time that was definitely true, but I'm noticing a lot more games are making their way to the PC space. So, like for example, a company that I work for now called Grease Monkeys, like their original game, which was Talk Drift, was developed for mobile, and then they moved that to PC, which can now be played on Steam, right? But the project that we're working on now, which I can't talk about much, but I can confirm that we're developing that for like PC first, right? So it's like, it's interesting how you do that. And then you've got like House who worked on Untitled Goose Game, which was like a global phenomenon. And then I know Playside are working, like they were traditionally doing like mobile, but also kind of like movie tie-in games, but I know they're branching off into their own stuff as well. So I think like I imagine we can probably talk about it a little bit, but like with the with Unreal Engine, which is what we use to develop the game, right? It's kind of opened up developers to be creating like a much higher fidelity kind of work. League of, like, you know, another example, League of Geeks. They worked on Armello, and they've just announced their new game. What was that called? Something to do with like demons and stuff like that, but it was like really, really cool, right? And obviously it's bringing in that kind of triple I don't know if you've heard of the triple I analogy before, which is like triple indie, but it's like indie games that are working at like a triple A kind of fidelity, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, I like that, because there is a bit of a distinction between what we used to see as indie and what we see as indie now. I want to bring it back slightly to the question that I asked, but no, you're right. And just slightly skew though. What is it that's holding back development in Australia? Because we are not known as a big game development company, but we are known as a great gaming nation, I think. And there seems to be something holding back gaming that it's starting to open up. But what has that been? What has been the main barricade for Australian developers?
I think it's something like you said that's like opening up and improving. But I went to a talk a little while ago that was talking about basically how different countries dealt with the global financial crisis, right? Which was like, 20 years ago now, or like 2007, 8, something like that. Anyway, when that happened, a huge amount of AAA studios that were doing all of the ton of work here in Australia, because our dollar was a lot cheaper than the US dollar. They basically pulled out because they're like, fuck, way too expensive now, right? Like, we can't be doing this. And then that's where kind of our indie spirit was born, because a lot of these bigger studios spread out and made like smaller teams and stuff. But I was looking at this talk, and it basically came down to like the opportunities that were provided for like the country to be a haven. So it was interesting. So during the time of the global financial crisis, Canada and Australia were about equal in terms of the amount of developers that they had, right? I can't remember the exact number, but basically about the same. And then during that time, the Canadian government had a ton of incentives that they provided, which basically, it wasn't just like investment opportunities, but it was also like tax breaks, and tons of other stuff that basically made it so that like Canada was a really good place to be making games. Like, they made it a place that was really good for it. And that stuff didn't happen in Australia. And now you look at the difference in the amount of developers that exist within Canada now and the amount in Australia. In Australia, we've about tripled since those years. It's in Canada, it's like 200 times over. You know what I mean? Like, the difference because of that initial sort of like sowing the seeds or laying the foundation for what could become like a haven for incredible game development just wasn't done initially in Australia, because like, I don't know if it's a tall poppy syndrome, which is like, people don't necessarily like to take credit for the work that they do, or the idea that like, oh, you're an Aussie developer, therefore we can't really take you seriously, or you just make mobile games and they're all shit. Like, it's just these really bad takes, you know what I mean? But like you said, it's opening up and we're seeing more and more opportunities for growth. But I think also because we've had just such ridiculous global successes with things like Crossy Road, Untitled Goose Game, Hollow Knight, that there's now becoming like an appreciation for the craft of making games, but also providing that opportunity. Because at the end of the day, like, there are so many more super, super talented game developers in Australia now than what there was even when I started at university. So it's a case of like, the limitations very much are right now, at least if I was talking from my personal perspective, is we only really get the one major gaming event, if that makes sense, which is like GCAP and PAX, which is Melbourne Games Week, which is why everyone loves it so much. But like, GDC, which is the Game Developers Conference that they have in San Francisco, is like this massive, massive event. It's like the event for game developers. And that's very hard for Australians to access, because like the one time that I went in 2019 with like my team, like for me alone, it was like, $7-8 grand round trip. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of money to be investing in something that like, might not even turn into anything. Like, don't get me wrong, the experience itself was incredible, but like, to have access to those kind of like people and those kind of studios easily, that obviously a big event like GDC provides, is a lot more limited here in Australia. Yeah, but the opportunities grow. Like Ubisoft has moved back to Australia, which is really cool, and these kind of things help to cultivate kind of an industry that is going to continue growing. And I'm hoping that the problems or the difficulties that we deal with will become less and less as we continue into the future. Yeah, exactly.
So Tyson, bro, you guys have made this Hollow Legends, and it looks pretty good. At first, when I first saw it, I think because Twitter compression is a beast. And it does no favors to any of us when we post there, unfortunately.
No. Yeah.
I really wish they would up that because it's horrible. And I want to say, by the way, Halo 3 is my favorite in the series, and I relate exactly to everything you said.
Yeah.
Definitely got to get you in our game nights. But I want to ask you, with Unreal Engine 5, and I know that's what you guys are working on with Hollow Legends, how is it working on that? And for you guys, or for you, and it's an action adventure game using it, how does that work with it? Because one of the talks we've heard recently, including Halo, is the rumor is that they wanted to use Unreal Engine 5 for it. So, and people thought, how would that work with it being Halo, the Blam engine, and so on and so forth, and the iterations now with the slip space. So how is it working with that, with the action adventure game, and what freedoms does it allow and things like that? Like, is it easy to work with anything else to you?
Yeah, look, we use Unreal Engine 5 because it is the equivalent of a AAA game engine that's provided to the public for free, right? Epic Games has been very, very smart about the way that they've done this, because like they've been working on Unreal for a very, very long time, but it's not just like a game engine that they've put out there. It's the engine that they use to develop everything, right? So, Fortnite, which is like, it's not even an argument. Like it's been one of the most dominant games of like the past 5 years, right? Making ludicrous amounts of money, ridiculous retention of players, stuff like that. And they're constantly pumping out new content. The advantage of something like that for like smaller developers like my team is is the fact that because they're working on it constantly, they're making new features, excuse me, and those features then get passed on to us, right? They're not trying to figure out what they think will work. They're just making the engine better for them as a development team, and then we just get access to it. And it's becoming a case of like, there's so much like financial backing, but it's just such a tried and true engine, right? Because like, Unreal Engine 5 came out like start of this year. Okay, cool. But Unreal, like I've been using that since 2012. So like literally a decade, right? So that was like UDK, which was all the way back for like Unreal Tournament, which was kind of like a modding kit for it and stuff, right? But it was ultimately the engine, which means it's just got like a plethora of like experience, which is way, way harder for a new engine to achieve. Because obviously I've heard like all the talks about the fact that the slip space engine is just a nightmare to work with, right? And I think part of that comes down to the fact that like, in a way it's playing catch up. Like, well, yes, it does the job well enough. If it isn't user friendly, like that's a problem. And that kind of user friendliness can only be achieved after like, a decade or two of like people literally using it and figuring out what works and what doesn't. The engine itself is just absurd. I mean, it gives developers like us the opportunity to create a really high quality game that just would not have been achievable 10 years ago. Like you use like things like Lumen, which is obviously their new lighting system, and then Nanite, which is like, their optimization for like mesh and assets and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you care about that technical stuff, but it's things like that make it just so much easier for like my team to just put together a world that looks like it's being made by like a AAA studio. You know what I mean? It's incredible stuff. And they offer like, they've got heaps of really good opportunities as well. So like, for example, they do the Unreal Mega Grants, which they provide to like indie developers and stuff like that to help like fund their projects and stuff. So like in general, I've found Epic to be very like developer friendly, which is nice, because it's very easy for us to feel like we're getting price gouged or sort of like pushed out of the market if we don't already have the money to put in there. And Epic's just sort of like, just have it. Like, just have it. If you're successful, we're successful. That's kind of their opinion, and I can respect that a lot. So in short, Unreal's really, really good. And yeah, it makes our lives a lot easier just because basically what we're getting is an engine that has had literal millions, probably tens of millions of like dollars and man hours put into this thing, that if we had to try and build it ourselves, it'd just be an impossibility. And then across all of that, it's given to us for free as well. So yeah.
Tyson, I can see how well that's working for you guys, because I don't know if any of you in the chat or anyone watching have seen this, but if you go over to their Kickstarter, I'll link it in the chat. You can see just how well this engine is serving them and how good it looks already, and that is it's so exciting to see. So well done for being on that train.
Yeah, it's not to take away from our team at all. Like, don't get me wrong, my teammates, like, they are absurdly good. But yeah,
you have to make these decisions. So
that's right.
And that
it just amplifies us.
Guys.
That's right.
Correct.
It's like having an awesome megaphone that just kind of makes everything way better, which is awesome. So yeah, no, I appreciate it.
No, that's great. So you are going to be at PAX. There are 6 days. You've got 6 days or 5 days.
PAX is 3 days, I think. Oh, until PAX. PAX is next Friday.
Next Friday. So there are 6 days until you're at PAX, which is
Jesus, that's terrifying.
And you so Primordial Legends is going to be featured in the PAX Rising.
That's correct. Yeah.
Area of PAX, which is really cool. There's quite a number of you guys in there. And I wonder, how did you find that process of applying, and what advice would you give to someone who was like, yeah, I've got this game, I've worked really, really hard, I want to show people at PAX? How did you find it, and what did you do?
I'll be honest, it's actually one of my guys, Yasin, is the one that handles the majority of the liaison with like the PAX team and stuff like that. But in general, we've found the process to be pretty simple. I mean, it's a little bit pricey, if I'm being honest.
So you had to pay for it?
You have to pay for it, yeah. And it's I think we've paid I think it's over 2,000 we've actually paid for this booth. But that also includes the fact that we've bought extra tickets for all of our exhibitors as well, because there's obviously 7 of us. So that's basically the equivalent of buying like 7 3-day passes as well. So I guess keep that in mind. But yeah, it basically gives you the booth, and I think it comes with like certain insurances, but that also includes how they do like the really nice prints and stuff that will go up on the boards and all that. Like they cover all that and stuff. So the actual process of working with them has been like really, really cool. We've done it a couple of years now, and it's always like nice to be like working with the organizers themselves. And yeah, it's just a matter of like the price and stuff. But I know that Yasin, my guy who does all the PAX stuff for us, he talks to someone and organizes it really early. So this is the thing that I think a lot of people that are first going to PAX don't realize. We're talking with the organizers as early as like March. Like even sooner, potentially. Yeah. So we booked it in, and we'd paid for everything like 4 months ago. Yeah.
Guys, if you don't know what PAX is, we obviously do because they have it in America. But yeah, we have PAX in Australia as well. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to PAX this year. I was planning to go, but
damn it, man.
Personal life got in the way. So unfortunately,
that's okay. I'll be repping Xbox Infinite, although I don't have any merch yet. So
she will, but we'll
make sure you come by and say hello.
We'll do.
Yeah, we'll definitely get back to PAX. But look, I'll jump to Pete because I know Pete's got a bit of a question to ask Tyson.
Yeah, look, we haven't played the game, obviously, but when I looked at that webpage that you have up, what really stood out to me is the character design and world design, and I just wanted to know a little bit of the inspiration behind that. How did you land on that combat wombat, and is it Brisbane? Is that where you got your
landscape
inspiration from the landscape? Because it looks beautiful, mate.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't want to give too much away about the story, but obviously the environment itself is like probably most accurately that, which is like Brisbane or kind of like northern Queensland sort of rainforesty sort of like layout and stuff like that, which is cool that you can see that. But our character, her name is Brunt, and yeah, she's our anthropomorphic wombat character, and yeah, it'll be revealed in the story more, but she's basically a fish out of water. Like she's in a place that she doesn't like necessarily recognize and stuff like that. And that's a very deliberate choice by us. So we definitely have like plans to, because in our world, it's a fictional world and stuff like that. In our world, we definitely have plans to have a very like Australian-esque sort of inspired locale, but that won't necessarily be explored within this game. It's something that's like, again, we're really expanding on this universe and trying to build it into something that's like much bigger and much more interesting. But yeah, in terms of like character design and stuff like that, we just want to make something cool. I don't know how else to describe it. Like we just like the idea.
It looks so cool.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool though. Like this wombat is ridiculously cool.
Yeah, like I love wombats. Like I love wombats. And I know that like, you know, we discussed a lot about like how we wanted to design her and stuff like that. And she's like, okay, she's anthropomorphic, but I'm just like we've seen examples of like bear characters and stuff in games that like can walk around like a human and they can fight like a human. And I'm like, wombats are just little bears if we're being honest, right? So it's like adopting that similar kind of idea with the way that we built her was like important, but we were also like, we really want her to feel like unique within the world that she exists in, and that also includes the way that she works. So if you've looked through some of our promotional material, you see that she's got a ton of abilities that are specifically something that would work for a wombat. So she can do like a giant sort of like butt slam thing, because like, you know, wombats are known to basically fight that way. Like they basically shove and push and fight with their butts, right? Which is hilarious. So we wanted that to be like a major component of the way that she worked, but also like burrowing underground. So she can burrow underground and dive and stuff, and that's got so many different systems. We can use that to get like under certain terrain. You can use it as evasion in combat. You can use it as an initializer in combat. So you can basically do this like shoryuken uppercut thing, like straight out of the ground and like wreck enemies that way, which is really cool. But it also fills up her pouch, which is where she stores rocks, and then rocks you can use as like throwing items in combat. You can also use them to knock down certain items for like puzzles in the game and just different stuff like that. So yeah, yeah.
So you said that she does like a drop attack. Are you saying that old Brunt here is a drop bear? That's what it sounds like.
He's not.
So
That's what it sounds like.
look, man, I'm making no promises, but we're a huge fan of like really punny like achievements, right? Like they're just like, you know, they have tons of puns. So like,
oh my God,
just keep an eye out for what happens if you get a certain amount of like, you know, slam attack kills or something.
If anyone knows me, they I mean, Umbra always makes jokes about getting the tomatoes out. I love my puns, and the worse they are, the better. So, oh my God,
that's it. No, we got heaps, and tons of puns that are also like obviously they're like, you know, also reference things that we love in the world as well, right? Like, and like other games. So I won't say anything further, but obviously, you know, our game is called Hollow Hero, which is an Australian game. And then of course there's another very successful Australian game called Hollow Knight, right? Which we're, as developers, we're fans of that game. So, you know, there's opportunities for Easter eggs and stuff like that. And yeah.
So, wait, are you saying Hollow Knight was made by Australian developers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Hollow Knight
I didn't
was
know
made
that.
by Team Cherry in Adelaide. They're in South
I didn't
Australia.
know that. I love Hollow Knight.
A lot of people don't know that. It's really interesting. And obviously they're working on Silk Song, which is going to go gangbusters. So yeah. No, they're great. Lovely guys as well. They're really, really nice group.
Tyson, with the case of Brunt having these skills and such, I'm guessing it's a progression type system. Like, what type of system actually is implemented in there for us as far as, is it leveling up and all of that? How does that work?
So it's not actually a system like that. So it's more, if you've played games where like as you progress further and further, there's like new, like kind of the things like new abilities get provided to you. So it's not like an experience system or anything like that. It's like as you progress through the game or like through the tutorial, you get access to new abilities and stuff like that. But in general, we really wanted to keep the idea of Brunt as a character very pure, which is like everything that she can kind of do from the start of the game, the player can kind of do. Instead, We want the player to feel like they're growing in a way that feels natural, the same way as Brunt is growing through the story. Because when she travels out in the story, this is the first time she's ever been out of the Hollow, which is like her homeland, right? And she travels out of the Hollow to go and try and save a bunch of like creatures in like a southern military camp. And it's the first, like, even though she's got a natural affinity for combat, it's the first time she's ever gone out there. But we didn't want it to be so much as like she's gaining experience from like a traditional leveling system. Instead, as the player and as Brunt travel through this world, they're going to learn new things, right? Like they're going to be like, oh, I'd never considered fighting this way before, right? Even though technically you could have done it from the start, and things like that. And we provide opportunity for the player to learn new things that they could do that they hadn't necessarily planned for. And it creates this like really interesting dynamic where the player feels like they're growing with Brunt as she proceeds. But it's not like a traditional leveling system so much. Again, the nature of what we're working on as an indie team is we're trying to be really careful about the amount of work that we're doing. So like, you know, it's important for me to like lay it on the table. Like this is like a max of 3-hour experience. It's a beginning, middle, and end, but it's like, it's an introduction to our world. And it was really important when we started working on this game that to look at it from the perspective of, if we were working at a AAA studio, let's say Santa Monica, right? A lot of people have been saying, oh, like this gives like God of War vibes. And there's a reason for that. We're highly, highly inspired by God of War. You know, we were like, if we were working for that team, what would the expectation be for like 7 of us? And that's kind of the approach we took here, which was like, well, we could probably make that amount of experience if we were working there. So maybe we should just make that whole experience this like really awesome and confined little project.
This game just keeps sounding better and better and better. Honestly,
Riska is drooling. Can you hear him?
I am a God of War fanboy, 110%. So to me, that's everything that you're saying. Just it looked great, and now it's just sounding even better. Especially bum dropping someone or Hayuganing someone out of the ground, and it's God of War style. Hargeet did have a question. So look, I'll kick it to Hargeet, mate. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing you brought up that caught my attention was the storytelling aspect of games, right? And I agree with you. And in a lot of cases, we find, games are about like, you're shooting or something like that, or you're just going into the game to just play instead of getting that storytelling aspect. And in the movie world and TV world, that's just an assumption, and most consumers expect that, right? How do you feel that is as far as the art of storytelling and how people out there perceive video games to be a vehicle for storytelling, right? Because there are some massively awesome games that tell very fantastic stories, right? In video games, and I don't think it's really appreciated for that part of it, at least in my opinion. And I wonder what you see there, and what would you like the industry, the community to do to sort of change that perception if it isn't where you expect it to be?
Yeah, look, I think I 100% agree with you. I think it's like, I think even now video games are underrated, which is weird, but I think it's underrated in this professional artistic sphere, for like lack of a better term, right? You're thinking about like films and stuff, or even books. Actually, there's a good way of doing it. So books have been around forever and a day. Movies have been around for over a century now, right? Video games, they're very, very young, right? If you're thinking about it in the grand scheme of like entertainment and stuff like that, video games, it's a very young medium, right? Like, and because of that, we've grown rapidly into it to the point where like, games are the like highest grossing entertainment industry on the planet, minus pornography, I think, something like that. But like, you get my point, like really, really like high level sort of like money maker. But as a result of that, we've kind of had some growing pains that means that like we're not truly respected the same way that like movies and stuff are. But again, it's a case of like, it's a really exciting place to be in game development right now, because these things are changing. Like there's now BAFTA awards for like incredible storytelling in games, right? And stuff like that. And obviously we've got like the Game Awards and like these things that are becoming like, massive, massive events that like draw in like millions of people, and it's starting to become more appreciated as an art form. And I think that's basically what it needs to come down to, because I think I think there's still a stigma of like the idea of games being like, oh, you know, people who play games are just like basement dwelling, like mouth breathers, you know, and it's just like it's a really terrible take, right? But I think that's the general consensus, and I think there's like certain sects of the game development community that like can still kind of peddle that idea, which can like be problematic in of itself. But I think like without a doubt, the grand majority of like gamers, they're just people that like awesome experiences to spend their time with. Like when I think about it, like for me, the reason I love Halo, the reason I love Skyrim, like all of these kind of God of War, like games like that, is it's like it allows me to experience a universe that's like far beyond my own, right? And I think experience is the key word here. When I watch a film, right? Like I watched a film, I can watch that and be like, that was incredible, right? Like, and it was an experience in of itself, but I was very much a passenger along for the ride, right? If I'm playing something like Halo or The Elder Scrolls, I'm in that world, you know what I mean? And like in many ways, I'm creating my own story as a result of that. And I feel like the opportunity for storytelling in that interactive context just blows it way further than any other medium can possibly hope to achieve, right? But it's just a case of like we're still growing up in the eyes of the adults, if that makes sense, right? Like gaming is like, you know, gaming as a community, like we're the like a lot of us are like the first like kind of the first generation of people who like from the day we were born have been surrounded by like games, right? So like I was playing, you know, I was born during the Nintendo 64 PS1 era.
Oh my
right?
God, you're making me feel old, dude. But
I'm sorry.
That's
But that's it, right? Like I've only known games. Like some of my earliest memories are playing like Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 1 or like Croc or Spyro, right? Like I was built up in this world. So like for me, they're incredibly personal like driving forces. And I don't like I read academically, but I don't really read books so much, if that makes sense, because I'm kind of like I still kind of feel like a passenger. Like I'd rather just play something. Do you know what I mean?
And
Like
be in
I'd rather play a story and be a part of that universe and maybe have an influence on how it plays out.
and an impact, which I think is why a lot of these games these days, and Cyberpunk and Witcher, and some of these decisions that you make that skew the game in such a way as you've had an effect on the game, and it gives it replayability as well, which is also
that's it. And even like
great
super
thing.
linear games, right? Like even ours is a linear experience, right? But even games like Halo, like I keep coming back to it because obviously I'm so passionate about it. But like, you know, at the end of the day, Halo, when you play that, it's technically the same story every single time. So why have I played Halo 3, and no exaggeration, 300 times, right? And every single time I have a different experience or I have something new to like talk about with my mates and stuff like that. Like that's the power of games to me, right? Especially really well-designed games, is they can still provide you with a linear story that has a beginning, middle, and end, but it's the little micro stories that you make within it that make it so interesting.
Yeah, because it never plays out the same way, because you're always controlling the character, and something crazy might happen, or you know, there might be a glitch and you'd be like, oh dude, check this out, I capped it. But look, I want to jump
legitimately I put a video up on Reddit. I was playing Halo 3 with a mate a little while ago, and we we're playing through the halfway point, and we blew up the first scarab that comes into the game, and I'm just like la 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 la, and I'm like running along, and one of the legs had just glitched out through the level, and it just launched me off the fucking map, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding me, man? I've been playing this game for like 15 years and I've never seen that happen ever, right? So yeah, it's just interesting how stuff like that can happen.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Hopefully. Sorry, could you go?
No, I was just going to say, I think I'm not the only one who's squirming in their chair to find out if I attend your booth at PAX, am I going to get to butt slam something?
Yes, you will have access to that ability.
Stop.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, you will. Yeah.
Wait. Where's she going with this though? What type? That I don't know. That sounds like a different type of question to me. I don't know.
No, I was just asking.
You can ask the question as well, brother.
Hold on, Pete. Hold on. I want to know. I want to hear this.
No. I was just going to say, if we attend your booth at PAX, will we get to play as your
I get what
in your
Umbra is
game.
saying though. That's not what you technically said, but yes, if you play the game, you'll be able to do that.
Look, I just want to ask you one more question, and then I'll jump back to you, Kitty, and we'll start getting on to some of the information about PAX, because it's very important if you are in Australia and you are going to PAX, you want to head over to that booth. But we know now from what you've been telling us that this is a series of games. And obviously you kind of outlaid that you pretty much have the second one in the bag. So look, it's a series of games. Is it the same main character? Will we be following, that's a bit of a mouthful, the Wombat through the entire story as a series? Or is it more of a like you're telling the story of a world with different characters within that world?
A bit of both. I know this might sound a little pretentious to say, but imagine it like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Which is like Brunt is a character within our world. Will she return? Yes, absolutely. Will she be in the next game? Don't know, right? When we were working on Fireborn, our main character for that was actually an anthropomorphic bird, which was like a phoenix called Ash, right? And Ash was able to like throw fireballs and had all this kind of cool magic and stuff. And in that component of the story, our character Brunt still exists within that game. So she was conceptualized long before we actually started working on this, but she acts as like a trainer for the player in that game. Because Fireborn's set like 20 years after the events of this first one, of Hollow Hero. So Hollow Hero is like our introduction to Brunt in a lot of ways. But yeah, so you will absolutely see Brunt again. She may even be a playable character, but it is more the world and the characters that make up this world that make it like that we're kind of the thing that we're focusing on. So I like the idea of like, yes, Brunt is like a main character in this component and she's an important element of the world, but she is more than capable of like going off and doing something. And then we have many, many other interesting characters that are all working around this central thread or this central plot, which obviously I can't talk about at all. But yeah, they're going around that central thread that is all like trying to come back to a key sort of crescendo point. Yeah, that's the thing that
Can you just tell us what happens in the ending? No, I'm kidding. Absolutely
of course not, man. Come on, bro. Not a dance, mate. Yeah, so you'll just have to buy it and play the game. That's all I can say.
Absolutely, I will be.
Yeah, but I can tell you this, and this has been a huge thing for us, is like Hollow Hero. It is an introduction to this character and our world, but as you will see once you play the game, it is very much just a foundation. Like, yeah, there is a lot more, and I'm a huge fan of environmental storytelling and people kind of theory crafting and stuff like that. There is a lot more to this world than what first kind of meets the eye. So yeah,
absolutely
fun stuff. Yeah,
Cutie, I just jump over to you because I know you have a few more questions about PAX, and I kind of want to move into that. So, did you have anything else you wanted to ask about PAX?
I'm a little bit embarrassed now. I'm sorry. No, I was just wondering, is there actually a playable slice of the game that people can play at
yeah,
PAX?
100%. So you'll be playing sorry?
Is it on a PC?
Yes, yeah. So we'll have like two laptops which people will be able to play the game on, and then we'll have a big central screen which will kind of have like a looping gameplay demo for people that just kind of want to stroll past and look at it and stuff like that. But yes, you'll be able to play the opening level of the game. So
amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely
so
amazing.
that'll take you through. It's basically, we've put that there because we're kind of using it as an opportunity to test players as well, see what works and what doesn't. Yep. But yeah, this is the opportunity. This is how the player will learn to use different systems, how to fight and the different enemies that you might have to face, and it's also obviously the setup to the game as well. So
is it third person or?
Yeah, it is. So if you've seen God of War, it's basically that, but with a wombat.
I love it.
Yeah, third person action adventure game. Yeah,
that's incredible. I just wanted to read something from that they've got listed on their PAX website, on the PAX website, underneath the advertisement of their game in the PAX Rising section of PAX. It says Toybox Game Studio is an indie games developer based in Melbourne, Australia. Our studio is composed of a group of ambitious,
creatives who seek to deliver high-quality gameplay-driven experiences. We are a skilled, professional team with decades of collective experience and connections all over the world. We believe games as a medium have the potential for deep, rich, and expansive storytelling in a way that no other media can. We want to inspire players with deep, complex characters and give them worlds to explore that are filled with unforgettable biomes, creatures, and gameplay. We are committed to greatness and are resolute in our craft, developing extraordinary experiences that immerse players from all walks of life. Together we sow seeds of possibility and march forward towards a bright and exciting future. If that doesn't get you excited about not only this game, this studio, the way that they're doing things, I don't know what will. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you at PAX. It's going to be a great time.
I'm glad you enjoy it. We spent a solid couple of days working on that, so I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I can tell.
Yeah, no, it's good, but it's also true. It's 100% true. Like, it's what we say there. Like, we believe with our chest, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff that we want to do. It's the kind of experiences we want to make. So yeah,
I cannot wait for this game. So I've got a couple of questions to start, kind of finish off talking about the game. We'll move into one of our topics. But look, you are launching on PC initially. We know that. And yep. you have said that you're coming to other platforms later. What are you hoping to target next in the way of platforms? You know, be it Xbox, PlayStation at the same time, PlayStation, Switch at the same time. I imagine probably not the Switch because that would be a bit of a squeeze. And look, what are you targeting? Year-wise, are you looking to 2023, 2024? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of delays and stuff that goes on.
Yeah, so definitely coming to PC. So that's up. We're actually part of the Steam event that's on right now that you can see basically games that are being made in Melbourne and stuff like that, which is really cool. So as part of our Kickstarter, we actually have a stretch goal for like each one of the consoles and stuff. So if we were to hit that, then basically our goal would be to release on those platforms at the same time. But I think either way, we are definitely interested in developing for other platforms. Xbox, without a question, we're actually part of their ID at Xbox program, Toy Box and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know much about like developing, but it's super, super breezy. Like compared to the other two platforms, it's like Xbox is really quite simple to like deal with, and just kind of get everything ready to go. I say that like with a grain of salt, but like, of the three, that's the easiest to deal with. So Xbox for sure. And then of course, PlayStation, we definitely want to work on as well, because obviously they're similar. They've got enough similarity in terms of their like processing power that we could, if one works, the other will likely work as well. Just the business managerial side of things and just getting all of the ticks of approval for us to put it up on the platform. Switch is something that we think our game would be really, really good on, but as you said, it would be we'd have to do a lot of work to like improve the game's performance. Put it this way, it wouldn't run on a Switch right now. It'd run on an Xbox, it'd run on a PlayStation, it would not run on the Switch. So that's definitely something we'll be looking to potentially do, but we're definitely interested. PC for sure. And I'd without confirming anything, because I can't confirm anything, but it's likely we'll be attempting to release on Xbox and on PlayStation.
So Tyson,
and then
look, I don't know if this is an appropriate question to ask, but have you thought about Game Pass, and have you reached out to Xbox, and what's that process like if you have, and if you can talk about it?
All I can say is I can't say anything.
No.
All I can say is I can't say anything. But put it this way, I can say if we were given the opportunity to be on Game Pass, I'd very, very much be happy to do so.
Because I was actually interested as to, because the Cult of the Lamb could have gotten on Game Pass.
Oh, Cult of the Lamb's Melbourne as well, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, we've got mad games here. It's crazy.
But I was surprised that didn't get on Game Pass, and so I hope my fingers and toes are crossed.
Well, even if you do not make it to Game Pass, I will be 110%. I'll be 110% purchasing this game day one. And look, you still have your Kickstarter up and running, and I'm going to link that in chat. That is linked down below in the description as well. So if you guys just want to give the audience a bit of a plug on what that's all about and what their purchases will get them, or their support will get them, and then we'll move on to topic number 2.
Yeah, no worries. And just quickly to go back to your original question as well, it's the release date is when it's finished, but we're soft looking for next year. So
awesome.
That's kind of where we're at for that as well. But yeah, so the Kickstarter, obviously you can just buy the actual game itself in digital form. As of right now, you're basically buying the Steam code, but as different opportunities arise, we're more than happy to potentially, so let's say we end up doing a partnership with Xbox or something, we'd be more than happy to switch those codes around for you. Like we'll sort all that out. So we've got that, and then we've got the soundtrack, which is done by our composer Alec. If you haven't listened to some of the music that he's done, please go do it, because he's ridiculously talented. Like, it's absurd. I basically said to him, I said, I want you to give me Halo, God of War, and Skyrim combined. And he's like, yeah, you bet, no worries. And he just goes off and comes back with some of the most ridiculous stuff. And he's like, that's so good. He's like, yeah, but I added a didgeridoo to it, so it's Aussie. I'm like, you're a king.
Stop.
Yeah, so I'm
Stop
like, let's
it.
go.
Oh my god.
So I'm like, king, let's go. So yeah, you can get a digital soundtrack. We're also doing an art book, both digital and physical, like proper hard art book. So you'll be able to see a bunch of our development work, our concept art, and behind the scenes kind of stuff that we've done as well, which is really cool. And then obviously you can buy that as a collective package, which comes with a physical soundtrack, physical game case, collector's game case, and physical art book as well.
Wow.
There's those different tiers, and if you don't want to just do one or the other, we've also got each of those things as add-ons as well, so you can do that.
Awesome. Dude,
There's an elder that is the narrator for the game.
Yeah.
How did you go about picking the voice for that? Because obviously a narrator is a very integral part of the game.
Yeah. We'd worked with Jacques before. He actually has got like something ridiculous, like 40 years of experience doing like basically doing like the people that answer, like the automatic people that answer like phone calls and stuff. You know how you get those like answering machines? And it's basically stuff that he did for ages. So he kind of has like a appropriate level of experience kind of doing stuff which is specifically guiding people through like a process, and we're like, well, in a way that's kind of what like a narrator does as well. So we just thought that like that, and he's kind of like, he's also he's a family friend with like a ton of talent, and he's just kind of got a voice that like we were just really attracted to. We're like, yeah, this works exactly for like what we need it to be. So yeah, that was kind of what we focused on for that. So yeah.
All right.
The other thing as well, I'll
wait
just
to
go
play
back
it,
to the
guys.
Kickstarter.
Really
Sorry.
can't wait to play it. Yeah, go for it.
I appreciate it.
Kickstarter, mate.
Yeah, just
Let
going back to the
everyone know.
Kickstarter. We obviously appreciate that like not everyone can provide financial support. That's not necessary. We've got a few different like goals on the Kickstarter that people can do to help support us. So like if we reach a certain level of like followers on like certain social media platforms, you'll actually unlock extra content within the game that all players will have access to. So there's ways that like you can do things that can like basically will create extra content if we reach certain sort of like social media goals. And then more so like honestly, like it's as simple as just like maybe giving us a follow or giving us a wish list on Steam. Like internally, like it doesn't seem like much, but I promise you when we can take those kind of metrics to people with money, it makes a huge difference. So
And how do we do that, Tyson? How exactly what's the process that we all need to know to be able to do that?
Yeah, no worries. So if you go at TBX Games, which is basically short for Toy Box Games, you can do at TBX on pretty much any social platform. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you'll be able to find us. TikTok, we're on all of it. You'll be able to find our stuff there. I can send you guys a Discord link to our Discord if you want to share that as well. We usually post like behind the scenes things there as well for people that are really interested in the game. And then in Steam, if you just go Steam and then search the name of the game, Primordials Legends Hollow Hero, or if you look up Toybox Game Studios, will come up and you can just wishlist it there.
Absolutely, and that is all linked in the link tree, which is in the chat, and I'm just going to relink it again, and it's right there for you guys.
That.
Yeah, jump in there, guys. Head over to all the socials, hit follow, help these guys get this game to where it needs to be, so we can get it, early 2023.
Really, really easy to wish list it, guys. Like, that takes a couple of clicks. Tyson's been kind enough to give us this time. I mean, obviously the game sounds amazing, so help a man out.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Head over there and hit those likes, those shares, those wish lists, and listen.
I may or
Tyson,
may
look
not
up.
have ordered ordered the 100.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's happened.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's only a certain amount left. So get if you
Get them while they're
can,
hot.
get on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, Tyson, I just want to ask you. I know that you have a meeting and you are have a specific time limit. Are we breaching that time limit, or are we looking good?
No, we're good. We've got a little bit more time. I'll let you know when I need to finish up.
Fantastic.
So,
Look, I'll move into the next topic, which is PAX is obviously having their in-person event. That kicks off on the 7th of October. It's pretty exciting to see the Australian industry, again, as we've been talking about today, a lot of Australian stuff, kicking off and getting bigger and bigger. So, Cutie, I know that there's some stuff that you're super excited about PAX.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let the people know who are Australian in the chat what you're most excited about, what you want to see. Obviously, you want to see
Hollow
Hollow
Hero,
Heroes.
obviously, is number one. Yeah, obviously. It's all right. You can move to number two.
I can tell you right now, after this interview today, it's definitely going to be at the very top of my list. But in saying that, PAX 2022, can I just say, we haven't had a physical PAX in 1,090 days. It has been so long because of COVID and all of the restrictions. And you know what? Up until this event was actually officially announced, like when I bought my ticket, I was very worried that it was going to be shut down. And to be now 6 days out and it's actually happening is so exciting. So if you are attending or if you are in Melbourne, please do consider purchasing a ticket. There's only tickets available for Sunday and Friday, but either way, I'm excited, and yeah, it's just going to be a fantastic experience. But for those who aren't really sure or a bit on the fence or whatever, it's essentially Australia's biggest gaming festival. It runs from October 7th to 9th. There is an app for it, and it basically goes through every single exhibitor. There's a map on there, every single panel. There is just something for everyone there. If you're into tech, if you're into tabletop gaming, if you're into console gaming, if you're into PC gaming, whatever it is that you're into, if you're cosplaying, if you just like to buy stuff, they even have a bar. Like there are going to be competitions. There are going to be it's just so fun. And this is my what?
You can't have an event in Australia without having a bar. That's
what?
sacrilegious.
It's actually, I think if I looked at the map, it's actually up your end, Tyson, isn't it? It's really close to it, I believe.
The bar, is it? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
Awesome.
I'll be honest, I'll need to go there for a couple of stops through the couple of days, I reckon. But yeah.
No, it's great. And I was lucky enough. I've been lucky enough to be invited. There are also lots of events that are happening around. So I know that, Fortress is actually running an entire scavenger hunt through Melbourne, and they're partnering with Alienware and Telstra, and it's just gonna be an incredible experience. So I really hope if any of you are in Melbourne or if you're attending, I really hope to see you there. It's going to be really, really fun.
Absolutely. I am remiss and spewing is the Aussie word that I can't make it to PAX this year, but I am going to make it to E3 2023. And if you're an Xbox fan and you were ever going to go to E3, this is the one that you want to go to. And I'll just read a little blurb from what they released. They've released dates and times, etc. E3 2023, which will be the show's first in-person event in 4 years, will officially run from Tuesday, June 13th until Friday, June 16th. Organizer Reed Pop announced on Monday. Under the revamped format, the first 2 days of E3, June 13th to 14th, will be reserved exclusively for business. That's you, Tyson. The third day, June 15th, will welcome both business and consumer visitors, while the final day, June 16th, will be dedicated to consumers. And there is an Xbox show, Hargeet. That's the 11th. Is that correct, or the 10th?
It will be that Sunday, which it would be the I think it's the 11th.
Is that for the public?
Yes, I believe so.
They usually have people that can go in with FanFest tickets. I'm not sure what it's going to look like this time. I don't know how they're going to handle it, but that's traditionally what it's been. Has been FanFest. So you have to sort of win it, or if you're media, then you can usually, get in. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but that's usually what it is.
Well, look, fantastic. I just wanted to reference those two events because they are quite big. It is fantastic that we are having in-person events again. I've never been more hyped for an E3. It's on my bucket list to do, and it seems like next year is going to be the year
So lucky, Richard.
that I'm going to make it.
Not jealous at all. Not jealous at all, darling.
Oh, I cannot.
I hope to see
honestly
you there,
cannot
man.
wait. Yes, are you going to be at E3?
I don't know yet, but it's definitely something I'd like
okay.
to be able to do. So we'll
Alright.
have to see. But
Oh,
Bring the wombat to the US.
If you are there, I'm going to be super hyped to be.
Hopefully with an announcement on the Xbox stage, maybe.
not
Coming to
confirmed
Game Pass,
anything,
day
but,
one.
I can
but
neither
it'd be cool to
can-
be able to go there. I've never been to an E3 and I've always wanted to go, so it's definitely on my bucket list as well. So.
Yeah, same, absolutely. I mean, I'm like, I'm in my 40s and I've always wanted to go since 2017. I've been like, oh, let me go. But look, I'll move into the next topic because I just wanted to make that bit of an announcement. There's two massive things that happened this week that are just, it's terrible news, but not unexpected. Stadia finally died. We all saw it coming. Let's be honest. I think day one when they launched, I was like, yeah, this is not going to make it. They launched horrifically. It was really bad. But I think a lot of us forget, those who are hardcore gamers, that casuals will usually, if you don't stick the landing, the casuals don't come back. That's the impression that you leave with them, and they don't know any better moving forward. And Stadia really had that issue where they didn't stick the landing, but eventually the tech really started to show how good it was. And it is amazing. And I would definitely say it's better than xCloud. It's just unfortunate that they didn't stick the landing. They didn't have the right price points. And I just think it was, I wouldn't say half-assed, but poorly managed. And they made an announcement while the company plans on refunding all software and hardware purchases related to Stadia, the future of the few remaining exclusives on the service is less clear. And if they don't get ported to other platforms before Stadia rides into the sunset next year, they could completely disappear, never to be played again. So the good thing is they are refunding all of your hardware and software purchases. However, anything that was exclusive is probably going to be gone, which is an absolute shame. Yeah. I mean, and for developers, it must be terrible. Anyone who's actually been developing for that platform exclusively, this must really hurt. Hargeet, I'm going to go to you. There's also been a little bit of conjecture in the media as Stadia has referenced the purchase of Bethesda as one of the defining factors for Stadia's death. I think that this is ridiculous. But Hargeet, do you think that Microsoft just crushed their competitor in Google?
No, because look, if Google wanted to do this, there's nothing stopping them from investing the same way. Right, they chose to do a sort of half-assed thing. They have great tech, right? We can all acknowledge that if you use Stadia, it's actually really great tech. The problem is the implementation they had. A, it didn't attract enough customers, and then B, it just wasn't like, they would have to create enough content. Like, look what Microsoft did when they entered in, right? They said, okay, we're gonna go try to buy Square. We're going to go try to buy Nintendo, right? You have to make big bets, and they're a big company. So they can't just go in and say, okay, well, we'll maybe have some games in 6 years, and maybe then it'll be compelling. It's like, no, you need to start with stuff, right? Microsoft had Halo to day one, and that it launched the whole thing, right? What did they have? And so it really comes down to them. They didn't do this well, and that does not surprise me, right? This is Google. If it's not something that's core, this is kind of how they do things. They play around, and if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, they just give up, right? I hope the tech gets used somewhere, but this is really mostly on them. And when they saw that the investment needed, because Microsoft was going to invest, which meant the other players were going to invest, they're like, well, we don't want to spend $10 billion here, $20 billion there. We just wanted to try something. Well, no, if you're going to get into this business, you need to invest. Right, so, and they just decided not to do it. And
I think you pointed out something great there, Hargeet. Do you think this tech will be picked up somewhere else? Because it is.
I mean, this is a perfect option for Sony. Sony doesn't have a really good cloud play right now. They've signed on to go on with Azure with their major rival. They could easily sign on with Google and say, we'll take that tech and use that. But look, the other part of this that maybe is missed in Sony's stance to try to get rid of Game Pass, they also hampered Stadia. Stadia is also a subscription service, and it was all subscriptions were blocked if you had Sony marketing, including Stadia. So Stadia couldn't get those games, right? So a lot of those money-hatted games from Sony couldn't make it to the service. And that is a problem. It is, it stifles the potential for new entrants, right? So you want to hear how somebody actually hurt them? Sony directly hurt Stadia. Microsoft's games are there. They don't care. They money-hatted games. Those games are in Stadia. They don't care, right? But it was Sony who blocked games. You can't have them on a subscription service. Well, that does cause these kind of headaches, right? So if you want to blame somebody, blame Sony for money-hatting games. They were willing to spend 10 million, 20 million to get those games made for their platform, Stadia, right? But they couldn't. They were obligated to Sony. So this is a problem, right? But yeah, in the end, Google needed to invest more. Look, I'm not going to say it's entirely Sony or Microsoft. Google needed to invest more.
It's always more than one factor. Look, I do have to Tyson has to get out and get to a meeting, and I do have to outro him, and Tyson, I will do that. But did you have anything you wanted to add about Stadia tanking and their statements?
Yeah, look, I think I completely agree. I think it basically comes down to, like you said, it was about investment. I think a lot of, because you kind of see the same thing with like Amazon Games with like their earlier stuff as well. I think these massive companies see the amount of money games make, but they quickly forget the crucible that companies like Microsoft and Sony have gone through to kind of cultivate that massive audience that they've got, right? And the other thing as well, right, Stadia, while it is incredible technology, like you compare that against something like the Xbox Game Pass, which is like you pay the subscription, you get the games. Whereas Stadia was taking the approach of you need to pay for Stadia, but then you also need to pay the game just to stream it. I think it was pretty obvious that Microsoft was always going to steamroll them in that regard because they were taking an approach that was a lot more consumer friendly. And at the end of the day, I don't think anyone, I even talked to Sony fanboys. I don't think anyone's disagreeing that Game Pass is for monetary worth is the best subscription service in gaming right now. It's ridiculous what it provides you value wise, especially if you get the one that allows you to do games across PC and Xbox, and then of course you can you can actually do cloud gaming for all of that stuff as well. So it was kind of providing all of the best stuff that I think Stadia didn't quite tackle, and I completely agree. I think it was about investment. I think Google is a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, right? If they wanted to hold this thing out, they could. I think ultimately it came down to the suits kind of seeing that it didn't make the instant big bucks that they were hoping for, and they'd rather just cut their losses and go from there. And if you look at history, this isn't the first time Google's done stuff like this. They try an adventure, it doesn't work out, and they go from there. So,
it is pretty much their MO. Look, we really appreciate you coming onto the show and giving us some insight into the development of games and your games and games in Australia. It's been amazing to have you on, and thank you very, very much for your time. We really appreciate you. Can you just let the people know where they can find you, your socials? They are all linked down in the description. But just let people know where they can find you. What you'd be
beautiful.
Up to.
So you can see my name on screen is TJ Atomica. That's my gamer handle since I was 5. I can't believe I made a good one early that I've been willing to stick with. But that's my handle across everything: Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, everything like that. So if you want to follow me there, that'd be awesome. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure to get to know all of you. And honestly, this has been super cool. If you ever want another dev guest or you want a dev perspective, I'd be happy to come back on as a guest at another point because this has been fun. This has been really cool. So
awesome, man!
Thank you in one of our Halo nights, mate.
Oh, 100%. I'm actually I'm legit. I'll drop into that. That'll be fun. That'll be cool.
Hey, DM your gamer tag if you can.
Same, TJ Atomica. If you just do that, you'll pick me up on Xbox.
Same name? Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
Steam,
add you in.
Xbox, it's all the same. So
All right, we got to test you. You said you sweated.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh,
it's a 1v1 me, bro.
I'm just saying, if you let me get the sniper, it's going to be a bad time for everyone. That's all I'm saying. All right.
We'll keep you off the sniper then.
I think we should do some Halo 3 Valhalla zero gravity max speed everyone gets gravity hammers.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
always fun.
Yeah, they do that all the
That's
time.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
that's
stepping
cool.
away
it's
from
been an
Halo.
absolute pleasure. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate you. And look, just as TJ jumps out, Tyson jumps out, I'll just say, guys in the chat, you've been absolutely amazing tonight. Really appreciate you all. Thank you to the devs. We've been getting attacked by adult dating sites, which is always, nice for some people, not so nice for others. Depends on who you are. Look, I will just riff off what Hargeet was saying there regarding the tech, and then I'll move through the panel. He in the statement that they released whilst they were letting everyone know they're shutting down Stadia, he said the underlying technology platform that powers Stadia has been proven at scale and transcends gaming. We see clear opportunities to apply this technology across the other parts of Google, like YouTube, Google Play, and our augmented reality efforts, as well as make it available to our industry partners. So just to go what Hargeet was saying, there is an opportunity there for Google to use this tech to help, PlayStation, I imagine Nintendo, possibly Luna, and even, they might step in and I doubt they have a partnership with Xbox, and any other gaming company that wants to kind of come into the space. So I don't think that this is kind of the end of the tech. It's just a shame that it's an end of the platform. Mr. Inferno Games, we have not heard from you today. And so, look, do you think that Microsoft had a part to play in Google shutting down Stadia for at the end of 2022?
All right. Well, short answer. Can you guys hear me? Right?
Yeah, we got you.
Right.
Short answer is yes. And the long answer is the reason why is they showed them that they weren't ready to really enter in this industry, at least in this market. Like everyone's been saying, they weren't ready to really invest. They were just honestly just looking at the profits. They seen what Microsoft is like, oh, we need to do that in order to really compete and be in this industry. Yeah, you gotta do. You can't wait for content. You gotta really lead in with content. Everybody does that. If like Phil Harrison, he's been in the industry forever. I guess he's just picking up checkbooks and checks and bags, and he didn't tell them, hey, when you get into this market, you gotta have content. If you don't, you're gonna be screwed. And they need to do what the Game Pass and the PlayStation Plus model, which is a service. You need a service with games already there. Buying games should be a part of it. If people want to do that, allow them to do it. But you can't just come in, barely anything is dry. Like you need to have this on every platform you can. Every app. It needs to be an app. It needs to be everywhere. That's how you lead into this industry. So I think they did kind of scare them out because it's like, oh, we need to be doing that. I don't think we want to do that and spend all this money up front. We really want to go in and try to get some easy profits. And this is not going to be easy. It's a large investment, especially with something like this streaming, which still is getting popular, but it's not where they probably want it to be. You have to convince people with content to come check you out. I wouldn't do it personally. Even though we're hardcore, I'm just like, streaming, you gotta pull people in. Like if they had something that grabbed me, I would have no choice but to try this out. They just didn't have it. So yep, Microsoft kind of scared them when they seen that level of investment.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Phil Harrison, you do have to reference his history, and he has not had a good one. He's been involved in some of the biggest failures in the industry, and I wonder if he'll end up working very, very soon. Pete, look, I'll jump to you and just what are your thoughts on Stadia slowly dying in its death throes? I mean, I think we all saw it coming, but I mean, it's always a bit of a shock. It's sad to see, especially for those developers developing for the platform.
Yeah, look, it is. I think we did see it coming. I think all the rumors after the Bethesda got picked up by Microsoft were true. I think that Google were trying to acquire Bethesda. That was going to be, where they got an advantage, and they would have had some really, really great first party talent there and something to actually draw you into the platform, that killer app that everybody needs and that I think Tyson was talking about. I mean, even Luna have gone out and made Lost Ark, which is, been incredibly successful MMO. It is unfortunate, but look, I've always said, and I say it with Game Pass, competition is king. It pushes the other companies to go further, give us better, content and quality. It's how Game Pass was born. So yeah, look, I think that, it's not a good thing for the industry when anybody doesn't make it. In saying that, Google has history in this, don't they? It's not the first time that they have half-assed, getting into, something and then dropped it, the minute that it's not successful or the minute that they need to actually, put some real money into it. So I think, like Hargeet was saying, I think the best thing that we can get out of this is if that tech goes to somebody else, because that tech, from what I've heard, and I haven't personally had laid hands on it, but everything I've heard about that tech suggests to me that it's even better than xCloud. They're one of the only ones that have the ability to provide, a game cloud service, like Microsoft can. And so I just hope that that tech doesn't go to waste.
No, look, I mean, as I've said, they will be using it for other platforms. And I would like to see PlayStation and Google step together. And I think, with the way that Microsoft's going with the ABK acquisition as well, I think that's going to, obviously push Sony into that more of that cloud space. And I'd like to see Google and PlayStation. I think it's the most likely partnership. Use that tech to really compete in that space. Umbra, you've obviously seen this happening just a couple of days ago. What are your thoughts on Stadia shutting down, Microsoft choking the life slowly out of it until it died? It's clearly Microsoft's fault.
I mean, the thing is, it's like we all saw this. Literally, anybody that's like, "I told you," or who didn't know that Stadia was going to fail? We all knew it. So, I mean, initially when they first, announced that, they were going to open this, it was pretty obvious. They don't have a dedicated device, anything like that. It's all streaming. I think the world just wasn't ready for that. So, I think Google's approach with Stadia was just kind of half-assed, if we're being honest. I don't think they really put their all into this when it comes to gaming. Now, that's probably easy to say because reports came out where it was shown that they paid like tens of millions to get a lot of these games in there, like Red Dead Redemption 2 and such. And that was per game. So even smaller games, I see the screenshot you put there, even smaller games, was like 10 million to get those too. So I think it just showed that they had a poor plan in joining gaming the way they did, honestly. And even with the acquisition situation, now Bethesda was the final nail in the coffin for them, but no woe is me for Google. They're a super $1 trillion company as well. If they really wanted to buy somebody, they could. It just shows that they're not as invested because they haven't. They bought, who was it? I believe Iron Galaxy, was it? If I'm not mistaken, or was it Double Helix? It was probably Double Helix. And so it just shows to me like they weren't as invested as they should have been, or at least they didn't handle things the proper way. Now, as far as things goes with that, it's interesting because that leaves a lot of open situations now with Microsoft and them trying to acquire ABK. Because as was pointed out by a few people, Asa on Game on Daily and in Everborn, he was the first I actually saw speak on it. With them having such a tumultuous relationship, Microsoft and Google, will Google try to play spoiler and stop them somehow by putting in a bad word to the CMA or to someone else? That's the thing I'm interested in seeing, and I think they actually have some legs, some leeway there to possibly ruin things. So I'm wondering how that'll play out.
Yeah, well, I think if you're an armchair analyst like we really all are, and we can come to that conclusion, Umbra, I don't think that the CMA, or any of these governing bodies could come to any other conclusion other than Stadia, Google fucked up. But sorry to jump in there.
No, you're good. That's right. Amazon did buy Double Helix. That's what it was. Yeah. But no, I think it just shows that they weren't as invested as they should have been with it. They're, as far as their streaming goes, I mean, we know that it's better. It was seen as better largely by a lot of people over, xCloud and things of that nature. So I wonder how that will work out for Microsoft as far as things go with that. Maybe they'll try to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. They have Azure, so they're not going to do anything with that. I'll take that back. But I'm interested in seeing how that'll work out, and if Google will actually try to play spoiler somehow with Microsoft in the ABK situation.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they do. Look, Cutie, I just wanted to ask you, what do you think that Stadia really destroyed their own business by not going all in? We've seen what Microsoft had to do to compete in this space, and we've also seen what Microsoft did not competing in the space with last generation. And do you think it was a complete failure on Google's part that they didn't come into the space looking to grab exclusive titles, looking to offer the customer and the consumers something that they just could not get anywhere else?
Look, I don't think it's 100% their fault, and argue with me if you want. I just think that they were too early in the space. That's simply what I think.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have reached out more. They should have collaborated a lot more with other people. And I think if they would have done that, they would have been so much more successful. And, we all want, when we all succeed, we all play, we all win. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a shame, but also I think it was just too soon. It was too early. And then they lost steam, and this is where they are now.
Yeah, you really have to stick the landing as a hardware. I mean, they're not a hardware company, but as a platform, I think if you're going to launch in this gaming space, I think when you see Microsoft go all in as hard as they did, but I completely agree with you as well, Cutie, and Hargeet, which is odd. I never agree with Hargeet, even though the man's one of the smartest guys in gaming. I think that they kind of came in too early. I think what we're seeing is what happened with Microsoft when they were like TV. That was always going to happen, and Microsoft put a focus on that. And that was, they were just jumping a little bit too early. They saw where the industry was going. Sometimes it's not beneficial to jump ahead just because that's where the industry is going to go. I think the industry will eventually one day go cloud gaming, but we're not there yet. Stadia's done a lot to push it there. And they've done great things in the industry. And it really is a shame that Google did not just continue to invest hard enough.
I think it's like with everything in life. Like, some companies are there to simply inspire other companies to do stuff. And I know that sounds harsh, but not every company is going to succeed. Not every idea is going to come to fruition. However, it will inspire others. And I think it's important that even as people in our lives, even if we're not talking about gaming, everyone has a purpose. And if it's not to be the main character or to be the best or the number one in cloud gaming or whatever, at the end of the day, yes, I think you're right, Risket. They really did inspire. However, I just think they weren't meant to be the guy.
Yeah, I think the way they went about it, Risket, is what really put the nail in the coffin for the TV thing. Look, they saw the way the industry were going, and Microsoft have really been really progressive when it comes to this industry, really pushing Xbox Live, which, I mean, can you imagine gaming without being live? I mean, I'm chatting with you guys pretty much every day on Xbox now. That all started with Xbox Live. Now they've started Game Pass, and I think that they saw where the industry was going. I don't think that many people buy physical games anymore. You pretty much need to be always online. There's always day one patch or something along those lines these days. And yeah, look, it was really, really badly marketed. But I don't think the idea was bad.
Yeah, the idea was great. It's, again, when I say the launch as well, not the marketing, I think was okay, Pete. I think the launch, if you could, there's a video online of Google's launch, and I can't remember who it was, but they were pressing the space bar, were able to lift their hand up in the air physically before the action would take place on the screen. So it was a little bit half-baked when it launched. And it really is. And God, I wish I could grab the entire industry when it comes to publishers and just shake the shit out of them and go, how many examples do you need of launching anything early, software, hardware, whatever it is, platforms? How many times do you need to see something fail because it launched too early? Just suck up the cost, launch a good product, and the money will come. Look, does anyone else?
Like 108 pretty much said exactly what I was saying. It's like they kind of try to take the easy way out, I think. And I don't think you can do that with something as in gaming the way, that they tried to. I think you have to invest fully. And I think it's tricky enough. It was tricky enough for Microsoft to even get into gaming the way they did. So it's troublesome all around. And I think if there was a future situation, like maybe when streaming is just such a big thing, maybe it would have been much more, much better for them, I suppose. But I was going to say one other thing that I kind of now forget, actually, and it would have made me sound really intelligent, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
I do that constantly, yeah. I know.
What, sound intelligent?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
Oh.
so as far as what this did, right? It Amazon also entered in, right? And I think it gave them an idea of what it's going to take to do it correctly, because they saw what they were doing and they're like, yeah, if we do this, we're going to fail. And so they slowed down. They didn't get out of it. So Amazon's still in, but they're trying to establish exactly that. We need something to draw people in. And they've made some pretty good games, right? So they do have a good game. And I think the other thing they did is they said, we're just going to use Windows. We're just going to use PC to make it easy on developers. So we don't have to pay the $10-20 million for them to port their game over, right? We just get the PC version. And so I think it did actually help Amazon come up with a better potential option. And we'll see where that goes. I mean, theirs is kind of interesting in that it's bundled into Amazon Prime. So if you want to just have it, you have it, right? You can just play, which is interesting, right? So it gives you another avenue, and there's a potential revenue stream that's just kind of there. And then you have these channels where like Ubisoft can put their games in and stuff like that, which is kind of cool, right? So I think the Google experiment wasn't a failure for the industry overall, because I think it helped, but it's a failure for them to not do it the right way. And the thing you mentioned, Doomy, about it being early, they needed to partner with some hardware. People were not going to be able to do all cloud.
Yeah.
That is just something that they should have recognized, right? Microsoft recognized it and said, we'll let you play on PC, we'll let you play on console and on cloud. And it's not an only option. If you want to play it local, fine, you can play it local. Right, but if you want to try cloud, go for it. And
options will always
cloud
win.
Only. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what really killed it. They should have partnered with somebody and say, all right, we're going to put this on, or maybe even create like a Steam Deck equivalent, right? And say you'll have it here, but if you want to play cloud, you can, right? And then we can start expanding the cloud. But they didn't really. So I don't know if it's Phil's, whoever that guy, if he was supposed to come up with that, but they didn't have somebody with that vision of, where's the core gamer going to go? How are they going to get here? And will it make sense for them? And that was their major failure.
You just reminded me what I was going. You just reminded me of what I was going to say now. Actually, thank you for that. So you brought up Phil Harrison, and if anybody knows, he has been the Grim Reaper for a lot of different companies when it comes to launches and things of that nature. So I was going to say it's ironic that he was also here for this. And I think it was Special Nick. He brought up a great point. He said, well, I don't want to say it's a great point, but he brought up an interesting point where he pointed out that when they had launched, or at least the launch trailer and everything for Stadia, they showed a bunch of failed consoles as they were showing it and showcasing it. And this just happens to fall right into that in a way. Obviously, it's not a console, but you know what I mean. So I think that's just funny. It's ironic. Yeah, it's ironic.
Absolutely. Look, we'll move on to the next topic, which I've been frantically trying to find the news on, because it was one that we added in because it initially was Jez Corden stepped in and said that it was all rubbish. And then he stepped back in and went, oh, hang on a minute. I think this might be true. So thank you, Jez, for ruining my topic. Nah, it's all good. Look, apparently Certain Affinity is working on a massive Halo game in conjunction with 343 Industries. Now, there's a lot of rumors circulating about what's going on. Apparently, this new project could possibly be a BR done in Unreal Engine 5 and bolted on to Halo Infinite. The other rumor is that they are working on Halo 7, a completely new game since the new management team has come in. They are restructuring, and we were talking about this last night, Hargeet and Jedi. And thank you for bringing me up to speed, because I didn't really read into it too much, because it was initially discredited. But from what we're hearing, if it is true that they have started working on a new game, a Halo 7, and that Joe Staten wasn't happy with the story and wanted to basically not reboot, but splinter off and come back to Halo's true sense, I'm disappointed and upset. Again, I don't think it's a good move. I don't think we need to rebuild a completely new game. And then Hargeet, I'll let go into this. I won't steal what you were saying, but I completely agree. Is the length of time it's going to take to build a new Halo game. All that's going to happen for us Halo fans is that we were going to be without content for Halo Infinite for much, much longer than we would have been. And as I said last night, I think that if this is the route that they have gone, that engine is in a lot more trouble than we think it is. And we already think it is in a ridiculous amount of trouble. So it sounds like it's an absolute mess over there. And I think that, yeah, look, frankly, I'm disappointed. Halo's got fantastic bones. It just needs content. Don't create a new Halo game. I mean, I'd love to see one, in 10 years or so or whatever, once you started developing, in another 5 years. But I want you to make Halo Infinite great. You promised us the world and you've delivered fuck all. So just double down on Halo Infinite and give us what we want. It's got great bones. I'm a little bit emotional about this one.
You know what?
I'm a little bit annoyed.
It's always darkest before the dawn. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that it's been heartbreaking for all you guys. Like, I love Halo as well. Not as much as you guys, but I do care about it, and I think you need to make a mess in order to make progress, if that makes sense. Growth isn't linear, and I don't know. I think people weren't happy with it how it was before. So any changes, messy or not, I think moving towards a future that is trying to make everyone happy.
Yeah, well, look, hopefully what they are working on is Battle Royale. But Hargeet, I'm going to jump over to you and then open it up to the panel because you had some very interesting thoughts about what they were doing. Possibly I've missed some things because, as I said, I've been very late on this breaking news. So, Hargeet, if you want to open it up and...
Yeah. So, look, to do an engine is not an easy thing, right? So, there are certain types of people that can do that work. There's also people that work in it then, right? So, if you're going to try to attract new people, they have to work with your engine, right? So you have to make it available to them, and so all that's fun, right? It's work, right? And the things that we were getting about UE, right? Where, hey, I've been working with this for so long, and going from UE 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 to 5, it's not as big of a thing, and I already know how to do things. So much available to me. Right, these are interesting things. I'm with you though. If they make a change, it is a multi-year thing, and they're kind of starting from scratch, and that's going to be a pain in the neck as far as getting any content. But that's where we are. Let's be honest. That's where we are. Right, they're running into so many issues that they can't even make any content. Look, I already knew this was going to be a problem when they said they couldn't launch with co-op. Like, this has been a basic feature you've had since 2001. You're telling me you can't do that? Something's massively wrong, right? You have got to have massive issues. So this is disappointing and somewhat encouraging, but it does seem like they might schism away and say, let's just take the whole thing and move to a Halo 6 or Halo 7, whatever the actual thing might end up being, with a totally different engine. And whether that's UE5 or not, we'll see. But yeah, it does leave this game in an interesting state. And one of the other things I think was a mistake, now at least I think it is, Xbox One. They probably should have just said, no, this is a next gen only game, because it's holding it back. There's so many things that they can't pull off. That's because of the Xbox One, right? The One X could probably do it, but the one all the way back to the VCR Xbox One, like, it's just not capable of handling all the things they want to do. And then they're trying to make it work, and adding features to make this thing useful. It's not an easy task. And so they're trying to find people to do that. It's in a studio that everybody hates, and if you're gonna get talent to work in an engine that's for just this, like, think about that person's life and say, okay, well, I'm either such a Halo fan that I'm willing to work in a thing that I can use nowhere else, right? So my next gig, I'm gonna forget how to use UE or Unity or, right? I mean, just think about all that, right? There's just such a headache there. So this is where using something that's industry standard is cool, right? The flip side of that is they have tech as well. Could they leverage that? And I don't know if they're looking at all that. They probably are, right? But obviously things were in a bad state, and at a management level, at a higher up management level, they've got to be saying, what the heck are you guys doing, right? You've taken our massive franchise and made it into a mockery, and that is where it is, right? So it's disappointing. Maybe this is what they need, is a hard reset, and they need to spend the time, but you can basically expect nothing like the 6 month, 8 month, 9 month season. Talk about 2 year seasons, because that's what it's sounding like, right? They're gonna have nothing, which sucks. So that's kind of where we're going, which I guess maybe is the right thing or not, but that's kind of where it looks like it's headed. They're kind of doing a hard reboot and trying to say, what do we do to make this better? But I'm with you, Risket. This is, if they do this, we're looking at years before we get anything. That really does kind
Look,
of suck.
Huggy, Joe Staten, I think, came in there and basically said, "This is Chris Lee's vision. We're not going with that anymore." And I think he
Yeah.
was given ownership over that decision, and I do like that he was given that ownership. And look, obviously it's Halo, and I've got a lot to say about this, but I want to throw to Mr. Inferno and get his take on it first.
Uh, I'm with Hargeet. They, man, this making a new whole thing. I'm starting to wonder if there was any benefits to Slip Space. Well, like, did we really? What were the benefits of this um engine? I can't tell. And maybe it is because of last gen, and that I think that was also an issue because we heard rumors about them wanting cutting so much content and things like that. I don't know if there was time as well. Um, Honestly, they got to focus on this because when you hear about the cool things that modes and stuff that were added into the Master Chief Collection, I'm like, "Oh, what's going on? Like, hey, put some of that energy over here. We need some of that firefight. We need a whole bunch of stuff. It's just ridiculous. Part of me thinks that maybe this whole model that they were going for should have been a separate game in and of itself, and they should have just gave us a regular Halo to begin with, instead of just doing this. And I just don't understand where things fell apart because Halo 5 and the other Halos before that, even though they weren't perfect, they didn't seem to have this many issues and struggle this much. I don't know if this the engine, so many generations you're working with. Halo going open world, which I think that was a great choice. It's just everything together. This every like the online components just fell apart. Um, I don't want to keep waiting. And to be honest with you guys, once they figure this out and start doing well, I think Halo may need to be put on ice. Like
I don't
people
think
don't
they
like to hear
can
that,
figure it out,
especially
Inferno.
Halo fans. Huh?
I don't think they can figure it out. I think if they were able to figure it out, we wouldn't be getting these rumors that they're transferring over to Unreal Engine. I think because they obviously iterated on the slip space engine for Halo Infinite, and look, Hargeet and I have talked about this extensively, and One Bad Mother in the chat as well, and Risk It. There's something going on with this engine. It is incredibly difficult to be putting out maps and modes. I mean, there's 950 developers working at 343, and they are taking 6 months. This season's a 10-month season. We're only getting 2 maps. I think the engine is fundamentally broken. Now, whether it's broken because of last generation or this generation, it doesn't really matter because people have already purchased the game. And so you have to then go on and make it for the old Xbox One generation. You can't say, oh, you purchased the game, but you're not going to have access to, the more modes and more maps. And I think Boba wrote it in the chat. I actually do agree with him. I hope they do move on. I really do. Just get Joe Staten in charge. Look, Halo Infinite is fantastic fun to play, but it's fundamentally broken, and it takes away the enjoyment out of it. So with Joe Staten behind it, I'm all for a fresh break. Still get support for Halo Infinite for 2 to 3 years. Not going to be this 10-year plan that we hoped it would be, but I just have faith in Joe. I really do. He is Halo to me, and so
What do you mean move
I
on, Pete? What do you mean move on?
I think they should make Halo 7. Halo Endless being
Yeah.
Halo 7,
Yeah,
and
something
the
like
Battle
that.
Royale and Halo 7 launching at the same time, whether that be 3 years or 4 years down the track, I don't mind, but I think that they need to move away from Slipspace, or if they can, or keep Slipspace, just have it fully fixed and only for next generation if they can get it up to a level where it needs to be. Because when you're comparing the engines to, say, Unreal, id Tech, like Hargeet mentioned, which is a first party engine now, and you compare that to Slipspace, there are just stark differences. You know, we
Yep.
still don't have ray tracing. You know, like there's all these modes that we just and these tech that hasn't been implemented on, and I mean Halo has always been the flagship title for the Xbox. It sold consoles, you know, and it wasn't just for the story. It was because it looked beautiful and played beautiful too. And so I really just think that it's time to cut ties and move on.
Yeah. See, now I
I
totally.
don't know how that might work.
Yeah, I totally
don't know how that
disagree.
might
Can I
work,
just
though.
quickly say this, and I'll jump to you, Umbra? I totally
Sure.
disagree with that, unequivocally. Disagree with that. You are then looking. You're not looking at 4 years, Pete. You're looking at 6. That's a minimum of 6. You're not looking at
Yeah.
a 4-year development cycle. You're looking at getting Halo close to a new Halo close into a decade. I'm invested in Halo Infinite. People have invested their money in Halo Infinite. They have bought the game. Give them what they need. And when it comes to developing for Xbox One, you guys are all absolutely right. However, I will say this. Xbox has the tech and Microsoft has the tech to bring Halo to console via cloud as well. So those improvements, I'm sure that some of them can be leveraged with the cloud. Sorry, Umbra, to jump in on you, mate. You go for it.
No,
Yeah, just
you're
one
good.
thing before you go in, Umbra, is just to clarify, they paid for the campaign, right? So the multiplayer, the modes, all that's all free to play, and that could change at any time. Just clarify that one piece. But go ahead, Umbra.
That's
That's
great
true.
point.
But also, though,
Great
you know,
point.
people did pay for microtransactions. So how's that going to work out too? So that's
Yep,
that's
fair
part of
enough.
that's part of the issue, and that's why I agree with Risky. That's where I was headed to. He almost said almost exactly what I would have said. Although he sounded oddly aggressive, didn't he, guys? I don't know. You need to...
I'm
No.
passionate about Halo. I apologize. And I've been saying to Pete in the background,
That Halo
stop
passion.
saying move on to a new game.
Halo
Stop
passion,
it.
nice.
Stop saying it.
No one at 343 is listening to me, mate.
What if they were actually listening? Like, oh, this Pete guy. I don't know.
It's a good
No,
idea.
but seriously,
I'll be like, we
Right.
heard Jedi Knight Pete, and we've decided to create a new game. I'll be like, Peter!
right. Halo Peter edition. No, but like the thing is like I agree with Risk ultimately because I look at things and I'm trying to look at it logically. How would this work? And if they did that, would they scuff this engine and you know the slip space? And I agree with you 100% on that. By the way, Inferno, I don't know the benefits of it either. I remember when we all speculated on it at first, and we first saw it, it looked so great. But then when we actually got it, clearly they didn't know what to do with it. So, and I haven't seen anything that's been like, yeah, this is only capable with this engine. You know, you see other engines in the id Tech or Decima or whatever it may be, and you're like, yeah, or the RE engine, you know. So I don't know what the slip space engine is there for either. So I can definitely see them transitioning to Unreal Engine 5, which would be great. And as we all know, it was speculated that they were going to actually use Unreal Engine 4 Infinite before. They just went away from it on many other things that they scrapped and went around and changed during this troubled development, apparently. I don't know that if they can make a completely new game, and I hear people like Sean W. and other people in the community may have talking on that and saying, yeah, they can make a new game. The problem is like Risket said, that's more of a 6-year type of thing. That's not going to be done within 3 years. They are already talking about the VR, the Tatanka situation being delayed or at least pushed out not delayed, but pushed out until 2025 possibly. So I can't see a fully new game being developed, campaign and everything else within just 3 years. It's just not going to happen. And then what about the team that's actually still working on Infinite? But it does lead some credence to say that they're doing something, because it hasn't made any sense that you have so many developers, as Pete pointed out, 900 plus with 343, and they can't get out simple maps to us. A map here and there, 2 maps for a season. It's unacceptable. So it does lead some thought that maybe these guys are working on something else, and it could be that they're all transitioning Infinite and assets and such to Unreal Engine. Maybe that is the case. I would not be against it. My only thought and wonder would be, how would that work for last gen consoles, with the Xbox One barely being able to hold on to anything.
Yeah, it would have to be a cutoff, right? You would think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the
Just
thing
like
I
the
wonder about.
Cyberpunk thing, right? This DLC onwards. Sorry.
Exactly.
I think there was rumors about why they were continuing with the Blam engine, the slip space, was the feel. That was the rumor, at least.
You're right.
Was it,
You're
it
right.
felt like
Exactly.
Halo.
And that's a great point. And that's another thing I'm worried about too, and I'm wondering about. It gives me pause, because you're right. That's exactly what they said. It's the feel. And moving it to Unreal Engine, they said it wouldn't feel like Halo. So
Yeah.
that also gives me pause. So if anything, I would think that this game could be, maybe Certain Affinity is working on a VR, or maybe they're just working on a spin-off game entirely. Maybe that's the case.
Just in response,
True, yeah, it could
just
be.
in response to Boba in the chat, he said Infinite will feel extremely dated this time next year when these games launch, using more of these readily available features. Let's be real, and riffing off what you guys said about the feel. Look, Boba, if the engine's been updated the way that it's apparently has been, and we know it's broken, but if they've got it updated to a next gen level, which is apparently what they're saying that they have done, then there's no reason that they can't add features. You got to remember that ray tracing is scalable. There are a lot of scalable things that they can push towards the Series X, and that's why I guess at this point I don't really fully believe that Xbox One held it back when it comes to graphics, possibly physics. But you look at that world, and we'll talk about Grounded a little bit later. And you look at the world like Grounded that was built by 12 devs. In the campaign wise, that world feels empty. So I believe that there is a lot more that they can do. As to why it's not being done, that's obviously up for speculation, and we've been speculating about that since the game came out. And again, it's just so like I've stopped playing the game because I'm not pissed off. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. But I just can't understand how you can do something so. It's greatness. The gameplay is absolute greatness. But the problems and the lack of content that they just can't seem to get around. Again, it leans itself towards the contracting side of things and the poor management. We have new management. I think the new management should give the engine a chance, give the devs a chance, and give the game a chance. And I'm sure that they're having these meetings about whether they should move on, where they should go from here. I just really don't think moving on is the right direction to go in.
Well, what was the engine before with the older Halos?
It was Blam.
It was called
Blam.
Yeah, but it's the same engine.
It still is Blam.
Yeah.
It still is.
So
Blam.
it's the same engine.
Same engine, just a different iteration with the slip space.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just been updated.
So one thing to think about is what if they said, hey, let's take 1 or 2 people and have them keep working on UE5 to see if they can get the Halo feel in there. Right. And maybe that's what they've just been doing for the last year and a half while they were working with Slipspace to see if it's viable. And that way they might get to the point where it's like, yep, we've got it. Now you can move over. I wonder if they were doing that, right? I mean, I don't know how much it takes to just have somebody keep tweaking, because it's really the movement, right? The ability to bring your gun up and shoot, and then how fast you move and stuff like that, right? So if they can get those parameters tweaked, maybe that's what they would, somebody's just been working that and they got to that aha moment. It's working. It feels pretty good right now. Can we now move over to this? Just a thought. I don't know if that's something that came up, and that's how.
No, that makes some sense. That makes some sense.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in is if they're going to move it to Unreal Engine 5, what does that mean for the campaign outside of that, or will it be something just for multiplayer? You know what I mean? Maybe they don't have to do it for campaign.
No,
Maybe it'll just be
absolutely.
multiplayer.
I think they can bolt on. You can bolt on separate engines. I mean, it obviously in your launcher, you would just launch it out to a separate thing. But Cutie, I heard you piping in there. You had something to add about Halo.
Oh no, I just said that Hargeet's thought is interesting. Like potentially there is, if there is another team, testing out Unreal Engine 5 and to see if they can replicate the feeling of Halo Infinite, then potentially that would be incredible. And I really hope that is the case because they're really future-proofing their game if they do that. I think it's a smart decision if they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't disagree with any of you guys on the panel. You've all had amazing points with it. And I do agree that it does need to go to a new engine, Boba, but not just now, personally. I think that they need to focus on the engine they have. And if they've got certain affinity working in the background, once they've completed what they're doing, maybe they could, like Hargeet said, put that team onto seeing if they can port the feeling of Halo into Unreal 5 and then, hey, start working on the new game in a new engine. I think it has to happen. I think they know it has to happen. I'm just against it happening right now. We fear change here at Xbox Infinite. No, we don't. Look, I'll move on to the next topic.
Speaking of change risk, I do have to go.
Oh, you do have to go. Oh, fantastic.
I
Look.
Write that in the chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. I'm running through about three different screens. Look, absolutely, Cutie. It's been an amazing show. Really appreciate you coming along every week and giving us your takes. Letting people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to, and what you'd be doing next week.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic show. I've really enjoyed having Tyson, the game dev, on, and I think the chat did as well. So I thank you all for enjoying that, and thank you to obviously the panel as well. You're always amazing every week. Hargeet, Inferno, thank you. We love you. We love you as part of our Xbox Infinite family. Next week, I'm actually not going to be here because I'm going to be at PAX. So follow me along on my socials and you'll be able to check out what I'm doing. I'm unsure if I want to do like daily video, sort of like summation of what I'm doing or what. So yeah, just make sure you're following along on Twitter or Instagram. And yeah, it's going to be... I've never been to Melbourne before, so I'm a little bit nervous. But any of you guys that are in Melbourne, feel free to come up and say hi. Yeah, I'd love to see you all. So
absolutely, and again, thank you for coming in every week, giving us your takes. And I'm insanely jealous that I don't get to go to PAX. I really wanted to go.
You don't get to be a wombat.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that life
Thank you
happens.
for the kind words.
The bottom smashing is all for Cutie now.
The bottom smashing.
Umbra? Umbra.
I know. I'm talking about the wombat.
Get your Megan Thee Stallion on. I'm not mad at you.
Look,
hold on, Deliverex is at stream at PAX. I can't. I don't have a streaming booth booked. That would be cool, but I just don't have any time. If Riska was there, we probably would have hosted the podcast from there, but that would have been awesome.
yeah, it would have been. They do have podcast booths, but stream on your phone. Jump on your phone and just upload something to YouTube and show everyone what you're up to. Show PAX around, and let everyone know what's going on there. Because I mean, that would be honestly, I would love to watch that. I don't really know what PAX is like. Never been. So seeing the inside from an insider's person who's there, that would be great.
Well, I because I've been invited as part of the influencers and media, I actually get to go in 1 hour early before everyone else. So obviously it's a group of us that get to go, but I'll definitely be getting some content for you guys during that part. That way there's not like heaps and heaps of people like everywhere, because I know it just gets so full on. So yes, follow me along, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, and you'll be able to catch up with all the things happening at PAX next week. Okay,
fantastic.
guys.
Yeah, have fun at PAX.
Yep.
All those,
You'll have fun. It'll be great.
all those socials are down in the description, guys. So please head down there. And the socials for everyone will be down there at the end of the show. Again, thank you
guys. Mwah.
See you later.
All right, Cutie.
Thank you, Doom Cutie. And chat, you guys have been absolutely amazing today. We've had over 50, nearly 60 people in here up and down through the show. So it's been absolutely an amazing, rocking chat. We really appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share it out, let people know that we are here, and that we go live at 8 p.m. EST every single Friday, 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time if you are in Australia. Look, we'll move on to the next topic. which is Xbox is apparently been rumored to be in talks with a major Japanese publisher. This happening whilst the ABK deal is going through at the moment. It is look pretty exciting thing. And there's been some rumors as to who it possibly is. Apparently, quote here, there is a publisher that is very clearly interested. And so we may be hearing an announcement directly after the ABK deal. And look, what I wanted to get into the meat of this week is who we would like, who we think is likely. And I've heard some really great takes on this throughout the week. Me and Hargeet were on Mr. Boomstick's show the other day, and Hargeet has an amazing take. I hope he is wrong. And because I personally would just love to see Capcom join Xbox. Now, look, I won't get into what Hargeet's take is on this, but I do understand that they have a lot of Western IPs that maybe don't make sense for what Xbox is looking to do to the future, but they are a Japanese developer that could move into that JRPG market. They've got the experience there. They do have IPs in that space. None of them active at the moment because they have been aiming at the Western side. But I mean, you're talking about Street Fighter. You're talking about Resident Evil. You're talking about some of the biggest, best IPs from a Japanese developer you could possibly get your hands on. And my view is here that Xbox, and we have seen them do so, is going after tech. They are going after IPs, they are going after exclusives, they are going after games, but they also are looking to tech as well. When they acquired Bethesda, as you guys pointed out, the ID engine, they got that. Looking at the ABK, they're looking at their cloud mobile. And as well, they are looking at mobile as well to help probably supplement King when they do acquire ABK. And so I think Capcom is probably it's less of a chance, but I think it's in there with a chance, and I really do hope that we see Capcom get acquired. Hargeet, I'm going to go to you again, sir, because I know roughly what you
have to step away.
Oh, yeah, step away.
I'm here.
Oh, is it?
You're back. Okay.
Yeah,
I know roughly where you're going to go with this. So yeah, look, throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah. So what I think they're doing is, what Phil said, right? So Phil said they're going to go into areas, markets they're not in. And so what they're looking to do is get stuff. Look, they've covered our area of the world. They've covered all the Western stuff. I think they're going to go for things that we won't care about. One of the things they got with King was mobile. So they're looking at mobile, they're looking at PC, but they're also looking at, let's get the Asia market, let's get the Africa market, where they are just ridiculously low in percentage, right? They're it's embarrassing what the market share they have in those two continents. They need to do a much better job there, and games there need to have a different flair. It's cool to have the Western games, but they're looking for Eastern games, so they're gonna go after something like that. So to me, Capcom does not fit that bill. To me, the like Bandai would be awesome, but I'm a little leery with that one. It's the biggest publisher in Japan, outside of Sony and Nintendo. But so I don't think they're going to be able to like go to ABK, which is the biggest publisher, and then we'll get the biggest Japan publisher. There might be some regulatory headaches there, right? So if they could pull that would be awesome. But the next target, for me, the prime target's got to be Square. The next one's Sega. Those two offer, like, the Square Enix just has like iconic JRPGs, right? So that would just immediately give them cred in that market. So to have those, they're all in Game Pass. Even if they continue to be on other platforms, they're all in Game Pass. They're all on on Xbox. That would be fantastic for them. So for me, it would go Square, Sega, Bandai. If they could pull that off, that would be fantastic. I would go with Koei. I would then do Capcom and then Konami. Konami is they don't have enough development to actually be useful, and I'm not sure their IP is as relevant. So I don't know. It's okay. Like, they have Metal Gear, for instance. It's pretty good, but that was Kojima. He's gone somewhere else now, right? So so Konami's kind of meh. But Capcom, they're too Western to me. They have too many Western IPs instead of Eastern. So yes, they're pretty big name things, but that wouldn't give you access to those markets like Square would, like Sega would, or Bandai would.
You know what, though?
Koei's
With
also
Square,
pretty
though, Square is just so far spaced with what they actually can deliver games-wise, though. And I think that's
I
part
think
of the
they.
issue.
How many did they put out last year? Like 10, 12, something like that. They put out a
They
lot of
put that
games.
many out? Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's surprising.
So yeah, they are pretty prolific, and that's what Xbox needs. That right? They need like, hey, a game a month. Oh, that's awesome, right? Here you go,
Maybe,
right? A game a month coming from them.
you know what I just
That's
realized?
fantastic.
Whether
I just realized, Hargeet, maybe the way
Western,
I feel that way is because Xbox didn't get much from Square, so I didn't
oh
realize
yeah,
That's the problem.
oh yeah,
Exactly, right? They
That's
have
why
like
I thought it was so
Nintendo
little.
exclusives, they have Sony exclusives, and it's like if they can get
oh
those
yeah.
games, that's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. I see what your point is on that. You know, with Konami though, the problem also is like they have the IP. I think they have great IP. The problem is that they don't have the developers. So now that Microsoft would probably have to build a team for that, unless they use, I guess, Tango
And
GameWorks.
we've seen how good they are at that. So
Right. Exactly.
Mm.
just knock them
But
off.
yeah, Inferno, you want to give your thoughts?
Well, I think I'm going to echo what a lot of Xbox guys think. And even if they don't play JRPGs for the most part, I think most of them will honestly say that Sega fits. And it's part of that is because of legacy and with the brand. Like when you watch the documentary and even just like Peter Moore, we know there's connection there. Even with the early Xbox, there's so much connection there. It just fits. Even the accident with the recent interview with Phil Spencer, the home of Sonic. Like it just Everborn. I know that brought a smile to his face when he heard that.
Yep.
But I do say I kind of would risk it there. Capcom, even though they're more Western, I just feel like more Xbox guys would play it, but they're trying to enter that market, which is why I would lean towards Sega. Yeah, I feel like Sega is closer and uh more possible to happen because their past relationship, and I feel like they have a current relationship. We see Persona's finally coming. That's not been on Xbox forever. Soul Hackers 2. Um, I even got into a debate about Capcom and Sega versus Sega with, Sixers fan. We all know him. He's notorious for JRPG port begging. And they just say the same thing. If you're really trying to get that market, they make more traditional Japanese games that appeal to the East more than even Capcom. Capcom is bigger to us because it appeals more to the West, and I think they also have more variety. If you ask me, they got fighter, they got horror, they got something that could be turned into um, a cash cow with Monster Hunter. That like we get a bunch of those. It's crazy. Um, they got even things like Mega Man. A lot of people don't even talk about it anymore. They used to be big. But I think Sega is the way to go, and it's not as big as all the other studios. I feel like Square would be good too, but I feel like Square is a petty move to like, hey, you've been. If you look at it, Microsoft has went after. I don't know if purposely went after people that Sony's made deals with. You think about Bethesda, Deathloop.
Yeah.
They pretty much were going to get Starfield, Ghostwire Tokyo. You see the Call of Duty thing, and then they went after ABK. I don't know. They may go after Square.
Listen, I think
It would be,
when you
it
I don't know.
would be
when you
hilarious if they did.
when you say that though, Inferno, I'm gonna push back a little bit and say that they're studios that Microsoft have had very good relationships with. Bethesda's
Exactly.
across the road. And
True.
I think when they were creating the original Xbox, the first developer that they sent that to was Bethesda. And Bethesda, when they released the 360, and Bethesda was wanting to finally bring something over to console. I believe it was Skyrim. They sent the 360 to them initially to develop for, and they took feedback from Bethesda on the 360 to get it to the state where Bethesda kind of wanted it and could develop for it. And when you look at Activision Blizzard, they had a relationship. They were the original shooter box. They were the original Call of Duty marketing deal. So they've had relationships with those people. So I think, listen, based on that and based on what everyone's saying here, Sega really does make sense. And it makes sense because of their relationship. It's been long. It's been a very good relationship. And they do have all the IPs that saying just before I shift back to you guys, look up.
Say Boba mentioned a great one in the chat. Riskit Katagawa.
Yeah.
And get From Software.
Yeah, well, look, that's definitely not going to happen.
But that's
I don't think that's going to happen. But before I do move over, I don't see that happening, Boba. I would love for that to happen, but again, that's a Western developer, and they don't really have a ridiculous amount of IPs. They just mostly have that are recognizable. So it's not bang for your buck if you're buying them, and they wouldn't be cheap right now after the success off the back of Elden Ring. But I'll say this for Capcom. I just want to cap for Capcom one more time. They do have a lot of Japanese IPs. Devil May Cry, Dragon's Dogma's one, Geist Crusher, Mega Man, Monster Hunter, Okami, Onimusha, Power Stone, I think was quite big over there. Sengoku Basara, Star Gladiator. I think Steel Battalion was big over there. Strider, you could bring that back as well. They do have the IPs.
They have both, don't they?
Yeah,
they've also got Dragon's Dogma 2 and Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Resident Evil. And I was going to say earlier,
being Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is pretty big.
It is
gigantic,
big,
actually.
And they also have it. They also have the RE engine. So I think that Capcom is up there. And if I was in a Microsoft board, I would be capping for Capcom hard out. But Hargeet, you were going to say.
Yeah, so just one other point to risk it to what you're saying, right? The relationships thing. Square Enix was one of the ones that were going to buy, right? Microsoft was going to buy that in 2000, right? So they've had that long-standing thing. It seems more Sony is going after the ones that were relationships that Microsoft had. Activision was made, like Call of Duty was made on the 360. And then for some stupid reason with the TV thing, they took the funding away and let the marketing deal lapse, right? And Sony swooped in, right? And equivalently with Bethesda, they were partnered, like you were saying, Riskit, up front. Oblivion, did that ever come? I think it finally eventually came a year later to PS3, right? It was a 360 exclusive for a while, right? That's how that was. They made those relationships, right? And Square, same thing. And then Square Enix gave one of their studios, lent them to Xbox, right? They're making their game. Now they sold that studio, but you know what I mean? So they've had those relationships. So it's there. And Sega, oh my God, like they basically took over for Sega as the next Sega, right? That relationship's been very good. And Peter Moore came over. Like, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that Capcom thing, I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I just don't see that being the right option. It really feels to me it's Square, Sega. Those are the two options that really make the most sense.
I'll just say this: for me, it's always been Capcom. I've been saying it for a while now. WB Games is my top, and Bushido pointed it out himself. He said it in the chat as well. That's my top as far as any developer or publisher I would want them to get. But outside of that, for Japanese developers, Capcom has to be the top for me. I mean, they have so many franchises that I love and grew up on, Street Fighter being one of them. And if they happen to get that corners the market. And as I believe, who was this that said it in the chat? It was, let me look. I'm sorry, Emilio. He pointed out a great point. Killer Instinct, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, assuming they get WB Games. That means bye-bye Evo. Bye-bye Evo, as he put in. He's absolutely correct. That is one way to stop any momentum
Bandai
that
would be the other
Sony
place
would
to
have.
go with that, right? So
Bandai will be the absolute obvious second. Yeah. Absolutely. That for me, Capcom is number one.
Japanese, Umbra, but look, I think Xbox has been trying to get into that market for a long time. What do we think? What are our thoughts on other Asian studios? Something like Smilegate, who they have, that relationship with Crossfire X with.
No, thank you. After Crossfire, Crossfire
X was Remedy.
When you said that, I cringed a little bit when you said excuse me.
Yeah, look,
I don't even know the name of it. That's how terrible it is now to me. But I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, go after smaller devs, and I think they actually probably will. I think because they, maybe that might be the case for them with this situation. Bandai Namco is the biggest Japanese developer out there.
Yeah.
As far as numbers and things of that nature. So I can't see them going after them. And Bandai also does a lot of license work, and Microsoft wants to typically avoid that. Yeah, so I can see Capcom because a lot of those are actually in-house IP they own. So I can see that. It makes the most sense to me. Sega is actually, if we're going to be real and fair, Sega makes the most sense because Microsoft and Sega has a long-standing working relationship. most
cheap. It's
is
going to be
cheap.
cheap too. Yeah.
Absolutely, much more
Few
affordable than it would
Oh,
be
yeah,
to get
cheap.
Capcom.
Going to be
Also,
cheap.
I'll say this too. And as far as Sega goes, a lot of us that came to Xbox kind of deviated from the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
So I can see that appealing to a lot of our Xbox gamers, and we see a lot. We look at the Everborn, for instance, who salivates every time he hears
Oh, yeah.
Sega. So I can
Oh, yeah.
I can see that, but I will tell you right now, that is the least.
That would be a killer
sexy
announcement,
option.
Umbra, if they did
It-
that. Could you
but
imagine
it-
Sonic?
it would be.
Yakuza,
I'll be honest though.
Persona?
I love
Oh my
Yakuza. I
God.
love Sonic. I grew up on it. But I'm gonna be honest. It would be the least sexy option for me, Hargeet. I think it would
Yeah,
absolutely.
but again,
work for
it's
them.
intended for Asia, right? And I hope
That is
that would
true.
be the thing.
Yes.
The other thing to think about is of all those companies, who's in trouble and wants to be bought, and that
Yes.
is Square. It's got Square written all over it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Sega's doing well.
That's true.
Capcom's doing exceedingly well. They're doing
Mhm.
really well. Bandai is doing like they just had Elden Ring, right? So they are doing very
Mhm.
well. So I don't, they're not really going to be as keen. But like Square's like, we give up, right? They've already waved the white flag. We give up. We can't even fund our own games. Please come help us, right? So they're primed to be bought. So
Look, I'm just going to go to
Yeah.
what OBM in the chat. He said, and I was going to respond in text, but I'll respond in speech mode. He said Microsoft won't stop with a publisher. They'll start with one. They'll fill gaps with smaller studios and second party. I completely agree. I said this on Boom Show. I don't think after the ABK we're going to see a big, massive publisher personally. That's the rumor. I think it would be smarter for them, a bit more savvy for Xbox to start going after, not publishers, smaller devs, like the one who did like Lies of P and stuff like that, to kind of just to fill the gaps in that Japanese market until maybe they give it a bit of time and then go after a larger publisher. I think it would be a mistake to go straight after a larger publisher. They might not think so. They might think that this is all posturing from the regulators, and that it'll go through pretty easily. And as Hargeet said on Boom Show, when you're talking about, I don't think the top market cap or price you'd be paying for one of these Japanese studios was 9 billion, or was it 6 billion, something around there. So I mean, not really in the realms of an ABK acquisition. So again, I could be wrong about that, but I would like to see them just fill
Bandai's
the
the
gap.
biggest brisket, and that's like 14, 15 at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're all like 3, 5 in that range. They're all pretty small.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they
Small
are
change,
fairly
like
small
some
when you look at them.
small
I saw.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked. And it's crazy to think, isn't it, Pete? Because when they got Bethesda, we were all like, "Whoa, they paid that much for them," and then
Yep.
we saw ABK, and we were like, "Oh, okay, so that was nothing to them." Like
Wanna
we
know
knew
who no one's
Microsoft
mo-
was
who no one's
money bags,
mentioned,
but sheesh,
Umbra?
what's that?
Might as well just buy
Uh-oh.
Sony, mate.
Yeah, that would not fly.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
definitely not
petty.
fly.
It
You
would
want
be
to talk
petty.
about monopoly? There you go, right there.
Yeah, that would definitely not fly.
Can you imagine the meltdowns? Like ponies would not know what to do.
Yeah,
What
right.
would they do?
well,
with
they'd be
themselves?
Xbots. They wouldn't be ponies anymore.
Yeah,
We'd all
yeah.
be on the same team.
Oh,
I don't-
yeah,
I don't want them.
I'm going to PC.
I don't like God of War anymore. I also don't like Uncharted or anything.
Man,
else.
if Google actually
Last-
wanted to invest and bought Sony, man, oh man,
Oh, that'd
that
be
would just be
yeah.
so crazy, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
that would be a
Yeah.
competition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But listen, that's look, I want to kind of move on to the next topic. Before I do, guys, please hit the like button, hit the share button. We go live 8 p.m. Friday EST every week. Something that I'm hoping that I was right about. We've talked about this a few times in the life of the show, but Xbox or Microsoft has trademarked Gears of War again. So initially, the Gears of War titles were trademarked under Gears of War. That changed, I believe, for Gears 5, and they just trademarked Gears, and they've re-trademarked Gears of War. So there's a few things that could be happening based on that trademark. And one of them, and the one that I'm hoping for the most, and a lot of people will probably disagree with me. I've heard a lot of people that I talk to say, nah, we don't need that. Nah, I don't want that, but I want it. And I've been hoping that I was correct about the Coalition's small project, because we were told before they moved on to a Gears 6, they would be working on a smaller project to get their head around Unreal Engine 5. I think that the best project or a small project like that would be doing a Gears collection. That would be absolutely amazing. I would love to see Gears of War, the entirety, and also brought to PC, because you got to remember, I think it's 1, 2, and 3 are not on PC, also Judgment. I would like to see them all in Unreal 5. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I think that would be a worthy small project. It would definitely show them their chops and to be able to run them through the engine. And so I really do hope that is it. The other option that this could be is it could be Gears 6. There was a little GIF flying around the Twitter the other day with the Gears 6. It's definitely fake. I don't think that the Coalition, they wouldn't just release it sneakily or someone's leaked it. I don't think that's going to happen.
I had to break this down for you and Pete though, because let's not like you just knew it all.
We can have hopium, bro.
Yeah, let me be the Grinch that stole your hope, because I had to break this to these fellas. Unfortunately, it was like, hey, like, yeah, it could be real, it could be legit. I'm like, it's not. Let me ruin your fantasies right now. It's not. But that said, continue, Risk, please. I just had to spoil that for you. Yes, I had to spoil that for him.
Let me jump in. Let me burn up this parade. I'm one of those people that thinks it's a waste of time. There's so many other IP that we haven't seen in forever. I feel like we already got a collection. They did the Ultimate Edition. They get pretty much given away the whole franchise as far as the 1 through 4, and I think even Judgment as well.
Yep.
So I feel like this would be, to me, this would be equivalent of the Naughty Dog going back to Last of Us 1. Don't do it. Focus on the new IP and go to 6. Let's finish this out. Like I don't think it would. I think it would be a big undertaking to recreate all those games in Unreal Engine 5. And if you're asking for multiplayer too, no, don't. We don't need another Master Chief Collection issue where you're trying to do this big thing. Nope, just stick to the course. We're okay. I'm sorry, I gotta be that guy. Just no. Let's focus on this new IP and focus on 6. I'm sorry.
Yeah, look, see, this is the thing. I 5 story was absolute trash, and you guys can attack me if you want to. I didn't like it. To me, Gears is the Phoenix family, minimum. To me, Gears is Marcus Phoenix. So when they went over to Diaz, and I loved Gears Tactics with Gabe Diaz, who is Kate Diaz's father. That's all great and good, but Gears is Marcus Phoenix to me. So I don't want to see them. Well, you can. I know you do, but I don't want to see them do the next one. I want to see them redo the ones that I love so much personally. Pete, you were saying that I was absolutely correct. You agree with everything that I said.
I loved the story in Gears 5, and look, Microsoft asked for a female protagonist. They didn't have one at the time, and they specifically asked their best developer to go out there and put a female front and center, and they did a fantastic job with Kate Diaz, and I love the story. Bearing that in mind, I do wish that they went further into the JD Anya story with Marcus. I think that would have pulled at the heartstrings more. We're so incredibly connected with those characters, and I hope that they can bring them that whole story together in Gears 6. But it was Gears 4 that was more of a letdown to me, story-wise. Gears 5 I thought was done fantastically well.
I agree.
I agree.
For me, I think, for one, I love Part 5 story. I don't think it gets enough credit. I was actually kind of annoyed that they got the score it got. I thought it deserved better score, but I'm 100% agree with you that, Pete. Yeah, I know you don't like it. I was surprised to see that, by the way, Risk It. But no, I love Part 5. Honestly, I do agree maybe if they could have pulled on Marcus's ties with JD and Anya, that probably would have made it even stronger. But what we did get was pretty crazy to me, especially that last decision. And me, like Risky pointed out, it being such a Marcus tied focus when it comes to the story, I could not do that to him, and I'm not going to go further than that, but you know what I mean. So I had to save, but anyway, as far as that goes though, with Gears, I'll be honestly disappointed if during this time the Coalition, the game that they said they were working on that's not Gears 6, was actually them remaking or remastering, whatever you want to call it, Gears 1, 2, and 3 or whatever, I would honestly be really disappointed. And because I've wanted Coalition to make something else outside of Gears with all the talent they have for a long time. I've said it for years elsewhere, like on sites and other things I used to be on. So I hope it's not that from them that they were rumored about, or if that is the case that they're working on, that it's not that project, it's not replacing anything. So we'll see what happens. But I would be open for a remake. I hope that's just not what they've been working on all this time when they've done all this new Unreal Engine 5 work and all that they showcased to us and such. I would honestly be really disappointed.
Yeah. I know it seems like I'm the only guy on the planet who wants a Gears collection. But
I wouldn't mind having it risk it, but I agree with Umbra. I want them to have a new thing, new IP, give them a chance to do something cool, right? And and take advantage of the whole point of this was to learn UE5, right? And while they're doing so, they're not going to screw with the Gear 6. There's let's just make a whole new game and it'll hopefully be good, right? So I'd like to see what they come up with. I'd love something different. It's always cool to just see these side projects. Like Grounded, for instance, right? It's just I don't know where it's kind of a cool little game, right? So I'd love to see something like that. If they're gonna make one, I don't mind it. That's fine. But I don't want it to detract from another game. So I'm good with the new IP.
Yeah, look, I would be good with a new IP as well. I just don't think it would take them, more than a couple of years to and they've had those years, right? I don't think it would take them more than a couple of years to produce a Gears collection. You're talking a couple of years out of their dev time to play with Unreal 5. I think that would be a cool way to go. I don't know what you could get out of a couple of years. I mean, they're a great studio, but we're in a new generation, and games are taking longer to develop. So if they are working on a small little project, I think that would be the best one. I wouldn't want to see a new IP that's not fully fleshed out, not given its 5-year development time or whatever it needs to be the best it can be. And I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, I don't. I'm just a bit worried. If they do a new IP and that new IP is shorted on development time, it really wouldn't show off the studio's chops. I do have faith in Coalition, but if I was running Microsoft and you could think of it like it's they're in like a little dungeon and they tried to come out of their little Gears dungeon, I would throw them back in there, lock the door, and throw away the key. No, it'd be cool to see them do a new IP. Sorry, Umbra.
I don't know, but they said it would be a smaller.
Yeah, exactly.
Get back in that cellar, boys. No, but yeah, I think they said it would be a smaller project anyway, so it's probably not something that would hamper them if they worked on it anyway. As far as it being something that's too long to develop for, I don't know. I want to give them that creativity, man. And Coalition is one of Microsoft's best studios, but a lot of people won't see it that way because all they know them for is Gears.
Yeah,
so I want
that's
them to,
why
to
I
do more.
don't want them to focus on a remake. If they're going to make
One
a
trick
remake,
pony.
fine. Get someone else to make it so they can make their new IP. Like you said, Umbra, I think that they are so talented that they could do both.
And this is the
we
section.
could split the difference though, and say they could just hire some. Since it's UE, right? They could just hire more developers to just do that piece. Let's get a team of like 40, 50 people or 30 people, whatever. This is your job. Just to remaster the old ones. You got the content. Go make that happen, right? And when it gets done, it gets done.
Absolutely. And this is the part of the show where I clear out all of the guests and panelists except for Hargeet and replace them with people who agree with. No, only kidding. Look, we'll move on to the next topic.
You'll never find.
Oh, don't start singing. We'll move on to the next topic. You guys are absolutely amazing. Fire in chat. I'm loving all their takes in there. And look, we'll move on to the next topic. And I will say hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. So, look, this is one that it's got me a little bit torn, but I'm torn mostly to the negative. Disney announced that they wanted to make a new Star Wars game every 6 months. There's a bit of nuance to this discussion, and I did think on this for quite a bit. Now, just before we do go into the topic, I will say Pete is a massive Star Wars fan. Now, what that means for Pete is he must hate on every single new Star Wars IP outside of the old trilogy. So if you're a real fan, you hate Star Wars. From what I understand is how that works. Now, that's
Disney Star Wars, exactly.
Now,
It's not Star Wars.
That said,
except for Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One was good. Look, that said, that to me kind of smells trouble. It seems like It seems like they're treating it like a cash cow. And I will agree with Pete 100% on this. I think you need to treat that IP with a little bit more respect and then try to squeeze out of it as much as you can before you kill it. And that is what's happening. They've made a couple of bangers, but they've made more misses than they have hits at the moment. And I'm really concerned about what they're doing to the canon within the universe, how loose they'll allow studios to get within the canon. We know that Ubisoft's making a game. We know that Amy Hennig's making a game. We know EA's got a hold of, they're making a game from rumors. There's a rumor that Xbox is making a Mandalorian game. It's pretty much every studio's got their finger in the pie. Now, there's some really good studios there and some big names. So this could be completely unfounded. But it is a concern, the attitude that Disney holds towards Star Wars and that IP. And I really hope that the studios that they have handed off to respect the law, the IP itself, enough to do great things with it. Because, look, a new Star Wars game every 6 months, if they were good, I'm down for it. But it just sounds a little bit risque to me, a little bit too much. I'm going to go to Pete, Sith Lord Pete, up there, and ask him what he thinks about getting a new Star Wars game every 6 months.
Yeah, look, I think that there has been an oversaturation of Star Wars since Disney acquired the IP. I think you can see that with the Solo standalone movie. No one asked for that. And how does a Star Wars IP lose money? How does a Star Wars movie lose money? Only Disney are capable of doing that. And this screams like EA wasted the IP. There's no doubt about it. They sat on the IP for far too long. Are they going the other way now? I mean, look, only time will tell, to be honest. They have gold on their hands. Absolute gold. Would I have picked Quantic Dream to make a Star Wars IP? They definitely wouldn't have been my first pick. Do I want a Ubisoft open world game in the Star Wars universe? They wouldn't have been my first pick either. Do I want to see the Coalition making a Mandalorian game? Hell yes. So look, it depends on who they give the IP to. Star Wars is very, very dear to my heart. I will be pretty vocal if I believe that they're wasting it. And I don't want to go too far into Star Wars, but yeah, I'd like to get your take on it, Umbra, to be honest.
Yeah, my thing on it, man, is, I hear you, and I know those saying there's too much of anything is bad, right? Or can be bad at least. But I don't know. I have a more favorable view of what Disney has done with Star Wars than I think most. I think The Mandalorian is almost a masterpiece in terms of not necessarily it being so perfectly written, but in terms of it, the character work and things like that, and actually making you endear you to a freaking puppet. Who would have thought I'd be loving little Grogu, right? So things like that, like you pointed out, Rogue One. I'm hearing good things about the Endor series. So I think they have a lot of positives. I actually enjoyed the Boba Fett series, actually. I want to point that out. The Book of Boba Fett. I actually enjoyed that overall. Yeah, I think the Mandalorian part probably carried it. I think
just lost me.
I think the Mando part carried it more than anything, but I still enjoyed it. I don't think it was great, but I enjoyed it. So, and that's the thing. I think when you're really a big fan of something, like Pete, you're a big fan of that in, like, for instance, Lord of the Rings. I think, and like Halo, right? We typically are very harsh in our criticisms and our critiques of it. So I think maybe you might be putting a little more, as we were saying colloquially, put a little more stank on it than it deserves, Pete, and a little more stank. Take some of that stank.
I don't know about that. When you take away the law, and you're actively trying to abuse your fan base that made you as large as you are, I think that you deserve all the hate that you get.
Well, I know a lot of people don't care for what's her name. What is her name? I cannot remember this lady's name.
Right?
I know, I forgot her name.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people don't care for her too. So I think that just taints people's view. And I think people listen, like we talk about it all the time. We say it all the time. Halo fans are almost impossible to please. Star Wars fans are impossible to please. So that's why I say I just think it's a matter of perspective. I think typically we're just harder on things than we possibly should be.
There's
But
an internal fight going on right now within
yeah,
Lucasfilm between Jon Favreau, who made The Mandalorian, who I agree, Umbra, is a fantastic show, and
right.
Kathleen Kennedy. There is an internal fight. There is a power struggle going on within Lucasfilm right now. Do they want to go with Kathleen Kennedy's direction, or do they want to go with Jon Favreau's direction? And look, if Favreau got Bob Iger to actually pull the trigger, get rid of the toxicity that Kathleen Kennedy has brought to the franchise. Get rid of this forces female nonsense and these Mary Sue Ray characters. I mean, I would be a very
I,
happy man.
I'm sensing a lot of little misogyny in here. I don't know. You all sensing that? No, I'm joking. But seriously,
Well, I
I,
would consider Kathleen Kennedy to be a misandrist.
she probably is.
Anyway,
But
we're gonna keep moving.
let me say this though, seriously. Kathleen, she brought in Jon Favreau, right? Didn't she bring him in?
Mm-hmm. She did.
So you can't write off everything the woman has done. I think a lot of people, that's why I say I think some people are, not you necessarily, but I think people are way too critical of Star Wars than they should be at times, personally. But I do understand your points. But as far as the games, let me just say this so I can shut up. We already have Amy Hennig's that game that's coming out that they announced from Skydance Media, the untitled first-person shooter. They have the open world Ubisoft game coming out. They have the Star Wars Eclipse from Quantic Dream. You all remember? Obviously, the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which is on indefinite hold, I believe, right? And next year we have Jedi Survivor, which I'm super excited about. And is that supposed to be January, I think? I'm pretty sure that's
I
January.
think so. Oh yeah. Respawn are amazing. What they did with
No question.
Fallen Order was the best Star Wars game, bar none. It was amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, no question. What did I have to do? You don't want to know that answer.
I saw that.
No, but seriously, like I'm not against it. I know you have to be careful with the oversaturation, but as far as their plan on having every other game be a AAA game, as long as they give that to capable devs, I'm all for it. I'm kind of like, for me, it's like saying too many games are a bad thing. No, it can be if you can't balance it, I suppose. But I want all the games you can give me if it's great games, so long as they're great. That's the caveat, as risky it has been.
Yeah.
Quality over
Ray
volume.
Monad put out a great point. He said March for Jedi Survivor, but he also pointed out that he believes a lot of the games are mobile games. So thank you, Monad. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, look, I kind of don't mind that if that's their, that's throwing it, and they're doing one every 6 months. There's a AAA game, twice a year. That kind of fits, I think, to a point of, they could be quality. And again, like Umbra was just saying, quality over volume. I would much prefer quality games over volume. Hargeet, how do you feel about a Star Wars game every 6 months?
Yeah. So one thing you said, Risket, was you hope they honor the IP. You mean unlike Disney? Star Wars is dead. To me, Star Wars is a dead franchise. I could care less. Make 2 million games a day. I'm not playing damn one of them. I don't care. They have killed the franchise for me. I'm all set. They didn't honor anything that existed. They destroyed canon. There is no canon. I'm done with stupid Star Wars. Screw it. It's dead.
That
my
is
answer.
Extremely
True Star
harsh.
Wars fans right there. Star
Extremely
Wars fans
harsh.
hate Star Wars, as you pointed out, Risky, right?
They do. If you're a true Star Wars fan, you hate everything Star Wars, and you hate Disney. Look, Inferno Games, are you excited to see a new Star Wars game every 6? But look, if they're good, I mean, Hargeet Jedi Fallen Order was one of the best games ever made. It fits to the new canon.
Game I will never play.
Well, you're missing out. You really are. Maybe I'll just buy it for you and send it over, and then that way, you're forced to play it.
You can't
you
force
need
me
to play that, Hargeet.
I agree.
Like,
it's
in
good.
Game
You
Pass.
got to.
I don't even.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be bought. It's in Game Pass. I still will never play it.
I still
Yeah,
buy it, then I'll just complain
you're
about how I
missing out.
bought it and he never played it. Hargeet never played the game. I bought him Inferno. How do you feel about Star Wars as a whole and Star Wars releasing a game every 6 months?
As a whole, I'm very intrigued by the franchise. I won't say I'm as big as Jedi or any of you guys, but I'm intrigued by the franchise, and even some of the new stuff they've done with like Mandalorian. I respect that series and that whole like I respect it as a whole. The characters, the world, the different creatures and species and races. It's all awesome to me. Um, but every 6 months it does sound like a lot. But when you think about the variety of what they could do with something like Star Wars, like I hope that Mando game is true in different ways. The MMO version that we've heard of and like a third person action adventure would be dope as well. Uh, I can't wait for them to one day do more with Yoda in his race. That would be dope for Xbox to jump in. I mean, just ironically, green character, green, Xbox. So that would be dope. The idea of just there's so much you could do with that franchise. Just Boba Fett, there's so much. This is
Mhm.
all there. Just I feel like Microsoft specifically, if you don't already have one going, like that rumor says, you need to jump on this. I know licensed franchises are rough, but they bring in eyes. Like you can't ignore what Spider-Man has done for Sony. I know Insomniac made a really good game, but it did help that it is Spider-Man, and a lot of things are going on right now in the MCU, and a lot of things are going on for Star Wars. So, if you made a Mando game, perfect time. Come on, that's all I got to say on that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Microsoft having this policy of not taking on well-known licensed IPs is a little bit of a failing, and we've all been calling for it. I would like to see a Coalition Mando game that would be out of control. Awesome to see.
There's an Ahsoka show coming out soon. Risk it. Wouldn't that be a fantastic game to launch alongside? So I know that that usually doesn't turn out well, but I'd love to see an Ahsoka game launch at the same time the show's coming out. That'd be a great move.
that would be an awesome move. And they could sit, and then they could remake it again and just do it like The Last of Us, and they could remake it 6 months later on. Look.
Hargeet, question before we go. Hargeet, have you ever watched The Mandalorian?
Nope, never will.
Oh, Hargeet.
Dude, I don't even watch TV and movies anymore. I haven't watched anything since 2020.
What?
Like I've just given up on
Play
everything.
Fallen Order, Jed.
Is this
Hargeet,
person a Halo fan?
Nope, I'm all set. Dude, if it has the word
Fallen
Star
Order
Wars in it
right.
and it's toxicity, I'm done with it.
It
Not
just
even
says
gonna-
Jedi Fallen Order. It doesn't even say Star Wars. It just says
I
Jedi
don't
Order
care.
Fallen Order.
I'm not playing.
You want I tried to trick him. I tried to trick him, Pete. It didn't work.
Look, we'll keep chat, guys. Jump on Hargeet, try to get him to play this game. We'll move on to the next topic. Before we do, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share us out. We go live every Friday at 8 p.m. EST, and that's 10 a.m. in Australia, Eastern Standard Time. Grounded is out. The reviews are good. We've been playing a little bit of this. I had it up on screen earlier in the show. And listen, this just really goes to show you what you can do with a small team. This game is surprising to me. I don't like survival games. I feel like they don't respect my time. And my time is extremely limited. And so I haven't ever tried to play Grounded, but it got such good reviews. PC Gamer gave it a 9, Destructoid 8.5, IGN a 9, Windows Central 4.5, kind of expected. Eurogamer recommends it. Press Start Australia 8.5 out of 10. This is hitting in the high 8s. I think on Metacritic it's sitting around about an 80, 83. I could be wrong, could be an 86. The game's got great reviews. We jumped in, we've been playing it with Doom Cutie, Jedi Knight, and Umbra. We've been having a bit of a ball. It is fun. It is a great game. Now, I know they're a small team, but they do have massive resources behind them. But it looks amazing. It plays amazing. It's a little bit complicated. I've really enjoyed my time with it, and I will continue to play it. I want to build. The guys know that I've got OCD, and I have to make the camp neat. So I can see that causing me problems later on. They're just going to start sticking shit anywhere just to annoy me. But I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. So look, guys, I'm just going to throw to you guys. Just give us your thoughts. What do you think of Grounded? Are you enjoying it? Is it a game that you continue to play? Jedi? No. I'll go to Inferno. Inferno, have you played that Grounded? Do you enjoy it?
think he was having a mic.
Yeah,
There
not
we
sure if
go.
his mic is
No,
back.
I'm still
Oh, there
here.
he is.
Oh, he's
There
There we
we
go.
awesome.
I played since the full release because some people don't want to count it. Since the full release, at least like 2 hours with the buddies. I'm digging it. Just the mosquitoes are bullying your friend here. They're really bullying me. Every time I run into one, man, stay away from those things. But I'm enjoying it. My friends have done way more in our shared world. There's a shared world you can do now where you just don't have to, the person doesn't have to be online that hosted it, which is great. So if they're not on, I could go in and contribute and put some furniture in since they built the mansion without me so far. And I could be a good contributing partner in the game. So I think the game. I'm glad they didn't cancel. I'm kind of glad that Ryan McCaffrey's advice didn't actually work out because we need this kind of diversity in our lineup. We don't want to just be, one thing like everybody else just wants, one just type of genre. So I'm enjoying it.
Absolutely. Hargeet, have you had a chance to jump in the grounded? Fight some ants?
I did play a little bit. Yeah, I played a little bit of it with Colt. And shout out to Colt. He actually had an interview with the with one of the developers. And you should check it out. It's a pretty good video. He's put in a lot of hours in that game. But yeah,
400
it's
plus,
pretty
isn't it?
cool.
Yeah.
400 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 400 plus hours. Yeah, he's played a lot of it. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. I also was kind of waiting for the actual full story, right? So might be something to actually dive into. I know you have to do some building first, right, to kind of get yourself up to speed, and then you can go into the story. So yeah, it could be a pretty cool campaign to get through. So
Absolutely.
plus it's
Jump into the Xbox Infinite world. We've
yeah.
we've built one up, and you're welcome to join in anytime. Jedi
Cool.
Knight, what are your thoughts on Grounded so far?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I am a big. I love Ark, so it's very similar to that. I can see the similarities. I do prefer Ark. I do, but because I couldn't get you guys to play Ark with me, and shout out to Inferno, he did join. Unlike you guys, I Grounded is second best to me personally. So there's all that building, that survival. One thing that's really getting to me, and I don't know if the chat can help me out. How do you clean water? Is there a way to boil water? I'm so sick of trying to get the dew off trees. That's one thing that's really been frustrating to me. We haven't really started building our base yet. We're near the Rose Garden at the moment. So we've got a lean-to, we've got all that kind of stuff, but we haven't really started building yet. But yeah, it's been a great time. The Xbox Infinite crew is all there. I would have liked a character creator. I would have liked more than 4 people being able to jump into the world at any given time. So there are things that I would ask for if they were to, go on to make another one. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, myself, I am really. I like I said, surprise kind of hit for me. Umbra, what do you think of the game so far?
I'm actually really enthralled, largely because I send out our white friends here out to the, be savaged, and then, bring my black ass out there afterwards and reap the benefits. No, but seriously, it's actually really, really fun with a good squad. I've seen some people playing it singular, and it loses any appeal to me when I've seen it. It's like, nah, no interest in that. It seems far too alone and barren when you're by yourself. And it's not barren because it's a gigantic playground. But when we're playing together, it creates a different dynamic. So when you actually get into it, if you all can find a good squad to get into it with and a dedicated squad, I think you'll really, really love Grounded. Especially if somebody knows what they're doing. Like Pete knows what he's doing, right? Because he's played other games like that, like Ark, and like Risk It. I would not be interested in a game like Ark. I was going to give it a try, because Pete and everybody else were trying to get on it, but it's just not my type of game. It's a lot of time investment for that type of game. But Grounded actually, I think because of the style of how it looks, actually appeals to me more. I think it has that kind of, how do I put it? It has that kind of rare feel to it, like Sea of Thieves does, I think. And I think that appeals to me more. And I think it's a little more simplified versus Ark in some ways. as far as difficulty and things of that nature, right? But it's actually pretty fun. I am annoyed as hell by the do thing because we get thirsty in like seconds, it seems to feel like. But we're learning more as we go along. I don't think you can purify the water though, Pete. I looked around. I didn't see anything.
Well, DeliverX just said that there's a water filter that we can get. So I'm
What?
trying to get a little bit
Wow.
more information off him.
Probably gotta get that raw science up, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I'm
Maybe we
thinking as
do.
well. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I'll look more into it. But I would say this too. I do wish it had a character creator. That was one of the things I mentioned when we played.
Mhm.
Other than that, I think it's a really fun game. I can see why it got the score. I think it deserves the score it has. I'm interested in learning the secrets and actually completing the single player or the campaign or whatever, or the story mode. I actually do want to see how it ends and if you get enlarged or whatever again and all those types of things. So yeah, but give it a try if you all want to try it. Just get a squad together and do it.
Yeah, look, if anyone wants a character creator, I'm going to say it's me. I mean, look, it was a foregone conclusion who was getting what character when we went into the game. Umbra, being an African-American man, he got the African-American kid. Pete, he got the guy called Pete, and I was left with two girls. So when it comes to character creators, I would really like to see at least a gender thing. I don't like playing as a girl. It feels weird. Start talking like this and stuff. Hey guys, there's a spider over here.
Oh look, it's a spider. Don't you bite me with those fangs.
Look,
Ouch.
it sounded a little bit like Mike Tyson mixed in with a girl, like a Mike Tyson.
This is ridiculous. Look at these spiders. They're gonna bite me.
Oh my goodness.
They're stupendous in size.
We'll move on to the next topic. Again, hit the like button and the subscribe button, live every Friday, 8 p.m. EST. Skull and Bones got a delay. Absolute bullshit. Made me look like a clown. But anyway, look, I'll explain to you why it's bullshit. I'm not really over too worried, but I want to talk in this topic in a way. It's something that I've been saying for a while. I'll read you out their announcement today. We would like to give you an update regarding our release date. Although Skull and Bones development is finished at this stage, in the invaluable feedback we have received from various technical tests and the insider program convinced us we could use a bit of extra time to polish and balance the experience even further and ensure you all get the best experience we can offer. The new launch date is the 9th of March, 2023. This leads into a bit of an issue. Now, before I do go into this, Umbra called this, not in the green room, but we do topics every week where we all sit down and talk about what it is that we want to talk about on the show. And Umbra said this game's getting delayed. Me and Pete shouted him down, and I specifically said, dude, do not say that on the show. You're going to end up being wrong. And so I will take my L publicly, even though Umbra got his W privately. He was right. I don't know how, but this is what I think's happening here, right? Again, what they said is very likely to be true. They want to polish the game. I think it's a great thing that developers are like, okay, hey, let's polish this game. But you've got to look at where this was going to be releasing. With a release date in October, I believe, you've got in this time period, you've got Modern Warfare, God of War, Gotham Knights, Scorn, Plague's Tale. This is a packed section of the year, finally, because it's been as dry as hell. And I think Skull and Bones saw what was happening, and they were like, right, well, look, we need to sort some balancing out. We need to polish. And this release date is really probably going to hurt us. I think they released on the same day as another big AAA. I'm pretty sure it was COD, or same week. And so that's probably not a smart move.
It was God of War.
God of War, right.
Like a day before God of War.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
So that game's not going to sell. You know what I mean? The only way that game was ever going to survive that release date was going to Game Pass, in fairness. I think they've made a clever decision. And I think this is something that now that we're done, I think we're pretty much done with the delays because we're not ready. But what I think we're going to see is delays based on what's launching when people start really nailing down solid dates. We've got a lot of big games coming next year. I think it's a problem that Microsoft's going to have where they're going to have to, and Matt Booty did say as much at the show. I believe Hargeet even spoke to him about it. So we'll go to you, Hargeet, in a minute. That it's a bit of a problem for them. It's like, where are we going to put all these games so they don't cannibalize each other? And don't forget that that also there's third parties releasing. These are partners. They're partnered with Microsoft. Microsoft wouldn't want to particularly hurt their third party, partners either when they're releasing a game. So it's going to be a bit of a minefield, I think, for third party and platform holders where they're going to release their exclusives, because they're going to, well, maybe not PlayStation because they don't have any games coming this next year, but generally it's going to be a bit of a problem. So Hargeet, look, I'm going to go to you. Do you think that Skull and Bones part of their decision was made based on their launch date? I mean, it's pretty obvious. And what do you think about Microsoft's year coming and how they're going to place all these games without hurting, individual releases?
It's gonna be tough. Like they already have a slate of games, all the stuff they announced in June. That's all coming, like, supposedly in the first 6 months, because very little was coming this year. So I don't know how they managed to do it. And then there's still more stuff that's going to get announced, more stuff that's going to come. They still have the rest of the year. And then as far as Skull and Bones, like I don't even know why this game exists. So I'm not sure what the heck. Like, so if internal testing or whatever showed that nobody wanted to play it, okay. I don't know what they're looking to change there. So, but we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. But yeah, like when I did talk to Matt Booty about this, I asked him, like, essentially, great show, but like there's nothing in 2022. He's like, yeah, just the games just aren't ready, and like the teams are working, they're just not ready to ship them yet. But next year is going to be crazy, and I have just spreadsheets of trying to figure out how to put these games at certain release dates. And you're right, it's third parties, second party, first party, because there's other games like Contraband and Project Dragon and all these other things that they've been working on, right? There's like a Monster Hunter equivalent. There's all sorts of games they're working with other parties on that are going to be Xbox games. And then Kojima, we don't know what the heck's going to happen with that. Maybe that's years away. Maybe that's coming up soon. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But all that stuff, there's so much coming next year because things keep getting pushed. I guess it's really going to be that they're going to say, okay, well, we have too many games. We're going to push some of these out to 2024 because we just don't want to conflict. That's one model. They do have Game Pass, which does soften it a bit because that means people can go back to a game. But I wonder if they got good telemetry on releasing Halo like right after releasing Forza Horizon 5, and if that cannibalized Forza Horizon 5, because I'm sure it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that means, and like, should they have said, you know what, let's wait it out, because we want to allow Forza to sort of have its wings and spread itself out a bit, so that it has time to catch more players and let them have more fun with it before we release Halo. So yeah, they're gonna have to deal with that, right? Now, if the game is in a totally different genre, maybe it's okay, right? You might be able to put two games close to each other, but yeah, this is something they're gonna have to play through and figure it out, right? So it'll be fun though. And to your point about Sony, I mean, they supposedly have a Spider-Man 2 coming next year. But given the fact that everything that gets announced is delayed, I don't know if it's actually coming next year. So they have Forspoken, potentially Final Fantasy 16. So they have these third-party, exclusive deals. So maybe that's what they'll bank on. But yeah, it'll be an interesting year for Sony.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great year for gamers, JediKnightPete, when we start seeing these releases come through. And I think, look, we were going to discuss a topic. We'll save it for later. The drought is really almost over. And we're in the month where the games begin. And so I think it's a pretty prudent topic. And this just highlights Microsoft's future problem.
Yeah, I agree. And look, we did want to save this topic till the games start releasing, but you're right. The drought is almost over, guys. How long have we been talking about it? From now on, Microsoft are going to need to actually check when the next game is being released because they've just got too much. So this month we've got Scorn, Plague's Tale, Gotham Knights, Modern Warfare 2. An amazing slate of games. In terms of Skull and Bones, people loved Black Flag. They loved the ship combat in Black Flag. That's how Skull and Bones came about. Do I think they implemented it correctly? No, I don't. When I watched the playthrough of that game, I thought they got it completely wrong. And I spoke about it on KY's show yesterday. The why Sea of Thieves is so much fun to me personally is because you're working as a team. So if someone's on the sails, someone's on the cannon, someone's fixing the boat. In Skull and Bones, everybody has their own ship, and then you control that ship. And I don't know, that just removes a lot of the enjoyment that I think that we get from Sea of Thieves, working as a team together, communicating to sink other ships. I think that a lot of the enjoyment comes from that.
Yeah, look, I mean, I am the one lone pirate that's excited for, or was excited for Skull and Bones, mainly because of Black Flag. I do think it's a missed opportunity, Pete, as you said. I think that they could have incorporated a lot of Assassin's Creed into Skull and Bones, and I think there could have been some on-land components that could have been more fleshed out or could be more fleshed out. Be interesting to see what kind of polish they put on it. There's some interesting choices, like when you go to mine resources, you do that on the ship, and somehow you're mining rocks by parking next to a ship. I think that needs to be more fleshed out. Things need to make sense. Mr. Inferno, do you think that Skull and Bones has moved its release date? I mean, it's obvious it has, but do you think that Microsoft's going to be struggling with this problem next year, especially with Game Pass cannibalizing third-party games, second-party games, and even their own first-party games? It's going to be a very interesting year.
Oh yeah. We're gonna go from Xbox has no games to Xbox has too many games, and where are we gonna put them? I think I call it mid and bones because I think you need to give that game a lot of space. Because if you don't, it's gonna suffocate. It's gonna scuttle just like the ship. So to me, I kind of wanted to like this game, but it's just like I can't jive with it. But for Xbox and moving things, that's going to be a difficult job, very difficult. They may need to push some things back that were planned to come out next year to the year after that, in order not to do too much, but they want to do just enough and get that rotation.
Yeah, I see that, Inferno. And what happens when the ABK deal goes through? I mean, what, are you going to drop every single Call of Duty on Game Pass? No one's going to play any other game. I mean,
yeah,
My
absolutely.
biggest thing for this game, and the reason why I had no faith and hope for it already, I mean, when we first talked about this some many podcasts ago, Risk and Pete, I was very against it to begin with. I was like, why? Why does this game even exist? Yeah, I think you all might remember that. I was like, this game has no reason to exist. Pretty
there
much
was
what
a lot
Hargeet
of
said.
articles about the development hell it was in as well, Umbra. I remember
That
talking
too.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
goes into it too. But then Black Flag, by the way, which I loved, Pete. You missed out if you did not play that.
Oh, I
So
love
I
that
would
game.
say, yeah. So the combat in that, the naval combat and all that, I can tell obviously this was based off of that. Anybody that played it or saw it, you would know. But the problem is this: they missed that so to speak, the boat when it comes to this. That was 2013 with Black Flag, believe it or not. This game now is trying to release here in 2022, now 2023 or whatever it may be. I think it's missed its chance. I'll just be honest with you. And I don't see the necessity for this game. I don't see a want for this. And even the outside thing where it's more fleshed out a bit than it was before, I think they might need to go a bit further than that, and really make it an in-depth type of thing where you can actually go to, different lands and actually, I guess survey or go around a bit and do whatever you may need to do. But then I guess it begs the question, is it just basically Black Flag Part 2 at that point? But I don't know. I just don't have any interest in it. And I don't see it succeeding, especially with Ubisoft going up in $70 and all that, and then trying to charge you for this game. The thing is dead in the water. And I hate to keep using all these boats and water puns, but I'm gonna have to continue.
Get the tomatoes
This
out.
game, this game is
Black
sunk.
Flag.
This game
Yes,
is
sir.
sunk before it ships.
The
Tell them
difference
to
with Black
ship.
Flag is when you were sick of the naval combat, you could just go do your story mission on land.
Absolutely. Yep. Or you could go and dive underwater and explore and go hunting and stuff like that. It had a lot more stuff you can do in that. And I think this game is going to suffer because of the lack of that. Sea of Thieves, as you pointed out, it has much more robust things as far as options, at least nowadays. I need to get back to that, but it has a charm to it, that it's not taken so serious. This game has a much more serious aesthetic and things of that nature to it. And I don't know if that's a benefit to it necessarily, but I think it just missed its opportunity. With Sea of Thieves being there, especially, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's room in this ocean for the both of them. That was my last pun. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This
look,
game wouldn't exist if the Singapore government didn't come in and save it and back it financially. Otherwise, I don't think this game would exist.
yeah, well, they backed the sinking ship. So look, that's pretty clear by the community's thoughts. Basically, I just think it highlights a point that, especially with a weaker game and weaker releases, they're going to be really, really in dangerous waters next year, and they're going to have to be really careful about where they release. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West is a strong game, AAA, great game. For some people, I thought it was pretty boring, but look, Elden Ring absolutely choked the life out of that game. So again, these publishers, platform holders, third parties, they're going to have to be very careful about how and when they release. I'm going to move on to the next topic because we are tipping 3 hours and we still have a couple more topics to go. So apologies to you guys in the chat. Thank you for sticking with us. Please do hit that like button, subscribe, share us out. We normally only go for max 3 hours, but this week's a little bit special because we had a developer on talking about his game. That was amazing at the front end of the show. Now listen, People Can Fly is having more issues with publishers, and I don't really know if you can throw this fully onto People Can Fly if you don't know who they are. They're the developers that did Gears Judgment. They also did, oh God, the name just slipped out of my head. It was in Game Pass day one. Bulletstorm, but it was in Game Pass day one. It was Outriders. It was a great game, great co-op, but it was a good game with great co-op. It wasn't greatness. I don't know if 2K has seen what they've done and they've decided to part ways on Project Dagger. But this is what People Can Fly had to say about it. They said, I assume we will part on good terms, and I don't see reasons why we couldn't work with Take-Two on some other project in the future. Project Dagger will still be continuing to be developed, is basically what he goes on to say. They believe in that IP, they believe in the game, and it just strengthens their commitment to the game. They also did mention that they are open to other publishers coming in. Very interesting, as Square had some middling things to say about People Can Fly on their release of Outriders. And then they also had some issues with the publisher and spoke out publicly. So this could be many things. This could be a very nuanced topic. It could be them kicking back up against their publisher and basically doing what they want to do instead of doing what the publisher wants. Who knows what's going on? A little bit of a shame to see. That means I'd say that the development time will be a little bit longer. I haven't got much else to say on the topic, but I know, Umbra, you wanted to talk about this, so I will throw to you. And then you guys open it up. Feel free to jump in.
The thing about it is that I noticed, even with the Take-Two thing, and that's why I brought it up for a discussion, was that it seems like People Can Fly can't really catch a break. And that seems to be unfortunate. I mean, even from the first time we hear about them with Gears, what was it? Gears
Judgment.
Judgment. Exactly. It seems like they were already having issues with people reception-wise. And then, of course, they did have Bulletstorm, though. Bulletstorm was well received. So they're a hit and miss, it seems like, with people. Outriders was well received overall from people, but then it had a lot of technical issues. A lot of people lost their items, things of the nature with the server issues and things like that. So I don't know if it's necessarily an issue with them as a developer, but it seems like they can't really catch a break. I mean, they had the situation with Square, who were throwing all their Western developers under the bus, and then now with Take-Two. So I don't really know what to say when it comes to People Can Fly. I almost feel like if this new project that they're working on here, what do they call it? Project Dagger. If that right there fails, I'm wondering if they'll be the next studio that exits out and they'll close down. I'm not too sure one way or another about it.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, I haven't got a whole lot. It is a shame that they're not catching a break, but maybe they should have called it People Could Walk and they could work up to People Could Fly later on, Mr. Inferno Games. What do you think of the troubles?
That joke. I kind of feel bad for them. Like Umbra was saying, is this seems like they can't catch a break. I did like Outriders, mechanic wise, story wise. The character created needed some work though. Gears Judgment, a lot of people hate on it, but that story mode was pretty good. The multiplayer, I think, was the issue with that one, and vaulting over walls and in a different way. The controller layout scheme was pretty weird. They changed things up and kind of made it feel like Call of Duty in a sense. But I feel like they may need to be gotten by someone, maybe not Xbox, but someone needs to kind of take them under their wing. So I just wish them the best of luck. I hope they don't close down because they can make some solid games when given a chance. They just haven't been catching that break yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is unfortunate. I do think that they could be a great studio. Maybe given the resources. Hargeet, are you a little bit saddened to hear that Project Dagger will not be being supported by 2K any further?
I mean, I don't know exactly what the game was going to be, so it's hard to say, right? Yeah, I mean, maybe this is somebody that could be like picked up. Embracer could pick them up or something like that, or whatever. They're not that expensive, right? So maybe help fund it. I think they still have another game with Square that's going on. But yeah, they do seem to not catch a break. It's too bad, but and then I mean, this game could still be picked up by somebody, right? So we'll see if somebody else swoops in. I wonder why Take-Two dropped it. Maybe they weren't getting enough results, or I don't know. I guess what was maybe Take-Two is running out of money. Maybe they need to take all their money and then they're trying to buy Zynga, right? So maybe that was it.
Oh
So
yeah,
I don't
Take-Two
know.
are running out of money with the billions they're printing on GTA 5 still.
I know, right? But they spent 13, was it? Is that the number, right? They were buying Zynga for
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
something like that, right?
True.
Pete, you're
Yeah.
a little bit saddened to hear that Project Dagger's. Look, as you said, Hargeet, it's possible that there's many possibilities. It could be anything. It could be that the game just wasn't up to scratch for 2K. It could be a money issue that 2K want to funnel their money into other projects. But usually when a publisher breaks off from a developer like this, you do see it is because of a middling showing. So it would be interesting to know why and what. But I don't think we'll ever know. What we'll know is if the game is good when it gets released. Pete, are you a bit saddened to hear about Project Dagger breaking off ties from 2K?
No, because from all like the People Can Fly have said, the game's still being made. They've just moved away from the partnership. I think it was a publishing partnership they had with 2K. We don't know why. I would dare say that that 2K didn't like what they saw. Did I say 2K? Yeah. Well, Take-Two didn't like what they saw, but we'll never know really. I don't know why they're not focusing on Outriders or Outriders 2. That IP, because of Game Pass, has a very loyal fan base. Launching that game on Game Pass day one, and I know it had a few issues in the first 2 weeks. I didn't experience any issues myself. I loved the game, but I know that a lot of people within our community then went on to purchase Outriders World Slayer and really, really enjoyed it. So they do have an IP that is quite successful, and I just don't know why they're not focusing on that.
Yeah, it is a bit of a mystery, but they did say they weren't going to be supporting Outriders at all with any DLC, and they did bring a DLC out, so they've thrown support behind it more than what was planned, and I assume it's because of the success of Outriders. Guys, I'm going to move on to the next 3 topics and combine them all into one because they all kind of fit together quite nicely in a little neat package. But before I do, please hit that like button, share it out. We go live 8 p.m. every Friday, EST. So look, Cyberpunk, the trashiest game that was ever released and still trash to this day, has had a bit of an explosion in numbers. I believe it's after the anime series that was released on Netflix. People have come back to try out Cyberpunk, mainly because I believe of that. So kind of well done to Cyberpunk. I believe it's called Edge Runners on Netflix. I've still yet to see it. Any of you guys seen it?
I have seen it. Yep, I've completely watched the show now. It's actually
Yeah, I
quite good.
watched it. Loved it. Really good.
Yeah, a lot of people. I know you guys loved Cyberpunk as well, but we all know that it's trash. So, as talking about player count, this is how I can combine all these subjects together. Talking about player count, Modern Warfare was the biggest Call of Duty of all time. The beta, Modern Warfare 2. They had the most hours played, the most players, and the most matches played that they have ever had. Kind of puts a little bit of a blanket over this narrative that was coming from seemingly one side of the community that Modern Warfare was complete trash, and it's terrible, and we're going to cancel our pre-orders, and they can't get it right. And I did hear, and I'm going to call him out by name, Jay Bari here, saying that Infinity Ward was one of the worst studios, and he just doesn't like them as a Call of Duty developer. Well, Jay Bari, if you had any brains, or maybe just type something into Google, you would know that the reason that Call of Duty exists is because of Infinity Ward and Vince Zampella. They came from Medal of Honor, and they created Call of Duty. So saying that you don't like the studio that created the IP that you're saying you like, oh, it's a bit silly. Anyway, I'll throw to you guys. Did you guys get a chance to play Modern Warfare 2? Did you enjoy it? What did you think of it?
Let me jump in. I got to.
Before you say it, one thing, I just want to say one thing about Jay Barr. You pointed out Risk. It's interesting that you say that, and he asked earlier because he's been conflicted. Apparently, I just want to point this out. Him and it's been another brother, Persona, who were both going on about, oh, Call of Duty is just not that great anymore. All of a sudden, of course, and then they posted, "What are your stats on Call of Duty?" And they both have like 200 plus, 34 and like 23 hours put into the thing, thousands of eliminations and things like that. And they're talking and hyping up the game again. So it seems they're confused and don't know what to do. But go ahead, Inferno.
All right. Yeah, I jumped into it. I don't know what these people are talking about. I mean, the invasion mode, maybe. That wasn't really my thing. It felt like they were going for like a Battlefield type of feel to it, bigger map, vehicles. I went for the tried and true once I found out where team deathmatch, domination, stuff like that. That's my jig for Call of Duty. Small maps, like really hard pumping gameplay. Of course, there's going to be some camping because that's Call of Duty. There's going to be campers. I don't know why people are just complaining about that. That's always been a thing since 360 PS3 ever. Also as well, the third person mode is kind of interesting. It's not that bad. It's still, I'm kind of iffy on 50-50 on it. But yeah, the whole narrative that this is really bad, I'm like, no, this is not really bad. I don't know. I think it's kind of like that video that came out where the Latino brother, him and his girl at the club, and he's dancing with her, but the guy behind him is dancing with his girl as well. And we pretty much know that he's kind of losing grip of his girl. He just doesn't realize it yet. I think that's where a lot of people are with Call of Duty because the relationship is about to end real soon. They're starting to realize it. It's just kind of hard. It's just kind of hard right now. So I think that's part of the outrage.
Yeah. Sorry, Pete. You go.
I really liked it. Like in the end, I was going in with the Halo mindset at the start, and I was going in there, guns blazing. And the time to kill in Call of Duty has always been, really, really quick. And I know me and Risket set aside the last night of the beta. We stayed up late, and they actually ended it early on us, which is really disappointing. But I ended on a high note, top of the ladder. Risk it below me as usual.
Literally one
but-
game he wins and he's caps about it. Anyway, yeah. Okay.
But Inferno, I disagree. I quite liked the invasion mode, and it's funny, like they're trying to combine all these games in one. It looked to me like they were trying to destroy Battlefield, and they've actually done a better Battlefield mode than Battlefield made in 2042.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely hilarious to me.
Big claim.
The only problem I had with it is when we had a big group of people, someone would usually drop getting into that mode. So that was a little bit of an issue. I've heard the two main complaints that I had with the game is it's really difficult to see the enemy. They didn't have a name bar above them, and then the footsteps are way too loud. And the Infinity Ward have come out and said that they will be fixing those two issues specifically. So yeah, I pre-bought the game. I've pre-ordered it now. I did that mainly for the campaign, because the reboot of Modern Warfare 1 campaign was fantastic and a true return to form for Call of Duty. It really was. So I can't wait to play this one. The graphics in this game just blow you away. It is incredibly beautiful. I don't think enough people are talking about that. How the guns feel, they just feel amazing. Everything about this game just screams AAA. So yeah, look, I know there's a lot of hate going around, and that typically happens with any Call of Duty game. The fans are incredibly passionate about this, so any change, any difference is going to, upset them. But there's the tactical modes, which I think is on screen at the moment. So you've got prisoner rescue, which was pretty enjoyable. Your normal modes. Yeah, look, I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to getting back into it. I'm going to get to play it a week early, and then I'll be ready for multiplayer.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I put the uncompressed footage because I do have to compress the footage for the show. But I'm putting up some uncompressed footage of Xbox gameplay on the screen now, and you can see there's a little bit of a difference. It does look amazing. I am more of a tactical player, so you will see me mostly in the tactical modes. I really do enjoy them. But Hargeet, have you had a chance to? Did you get a chance to check out the beta? What did you think of it? What are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts on these PlayStation fans that really can't seem to get their heads straight on whether they like the game or not?
Well, I did not. I generally don't play the multiplayer for Call of Duty. I play the campaign. I'll play the campaign. I'm not sure I'm actually going to get this one because I'm banking on Microsoft will own them and I'll just get it in Game Pass. But we'll see. Cyberpunk, you mentioned that one. I haven't played that one yet, and I'm actually kind of happy that it's kind of picking up. I might wait for the DLC. Maybe I'll play it later this year because I'd like to actually finish that campaign. I never got to actually play it. I was waiting for the next gen patch. But yeah, as far as the Sony fans, look, I think they're going through the valley of despair, right? That's just the way it is, and they're gonna eventually figure out it's all okay. It doesn't matter, but they're not there yet. So there's all these stupid things from. It's a handful of people, right? It's not like everybody's. People still played it. It was the most played, right? So they still played it. People who care about Call of Duty, they're gonna keep playing it. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, the handful of people who are going through this this valley of despair, well, they'll get through it eventually.
Absolutely, I do hope they don't. I mean, I do hope they do. My bad, Freudian slip right there. Look, I'll move on to the final topic for the show. It's just one that Umbra kind of brought to our attention late in the week, and man, it looks amazing. And if you know anything about me, you know that I am a massive Battlefield fan, or was, until they just completely tanked the franchise with stupidity. And I will agree about Call of Duty, by the way. Inferno, you should have played Ground War, because there's Ground War, there's Invasion. Ground War is PvP, and Invasion is PvE. And it ran a lot better by the time they got to the final couple of days with Ground War. I really enjoyed it. It really does feel like Battlefield, not like the Modern Warfare 2019 Ground War. I hated that. This one is much improved. And Battlefield now has a competitor, to be honest. But moving on, something that Umbra brought to my attention in the week is this, and I'll whack it up on screen now. And if you know I'm a Battlefield fan, you know that this is Battlefield pedigree. This is Embark Studios a new game that they're showing called The Finals, and it looks absolutely amazing. Do pay attention to the destructibility on screen is just absolutely out of control. I do apologize for the compression there. It is YouTube, so this is what they do. But if you do go watch the 4K trailer of this, it looks out of control good. I'm intrigued. I'm a little bit excited. These are guys from the original teams at DICE, and I feel like this is the cream of the crop that left because they weren't too happy. They're releasing 2 games next year, apparently. This is one of them, and the other one, I believe, is called Arc Raider, and that looks absolutely amazing, more of a third-person Battlefield feeling game. This looks like a kind of a small Twitch, maybe / arena shooter, depending on how they run your setups. And it looks absolutely fire. I'm pretty excited for it personally. Did you guys get a chance to check this out? Umbra, I'll go to you and get your thoughts on it because I know you were pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, this actually surprised me when I saw it, and I think the thing we were all talking about is it actually coming to console, because it's pretty clear that's PC right there, and it looks magnificent. The destructibility I spoke on, and I said it's kind of something we were promised as far as the cloud with Crackdown 3. It looks like with all of that destructibility, it's just impressive all over. You guys are big fans, I believe, of Skill Up, right?
Mm-hmm. I am, yeah.
So Skill Up had a chance to play it, and this is what he said. He says he don't think he's had this much fun with a new shooter IP since Apex. He says the gunplay, map design, destruction engine, outplay potential is all just so damn good. Put this on your radar, in my opinion, expecting big things for it. So it's getting good reception from those who had a chance to play it as well. It just looks fun. It looks really, it does give me the Apex feeling from what I saw. It looks really fun. I kind of get a Fortnite-ish kind of feeling from it too. So it might actually, steal those fans too if it plays its cards right. But destructibility and everything like that, it looks like something I could probably get into. I think Halo is always going to be king for me, but I can see myself giving that some time. And these former DICE developers, I mean, like you said, Rich, they have so much going for them because their Arc Raiders looks like it's going to be great too. So I'm just interested in what they're doing, period, going forward.
Absolutely. And look, I'll just add to what you said. It is coming to console. They have reached out and said it's coming soon to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. So it is only next gen. They do say they've got no plans for PS4 or Xbox One, which I believe is a good thing. I think it's time. We've had 2 years in the generation. Let's move in to this generation. I think it's time to let the Xbox and PS4 go. Inferno Games, did you get a chance to check this one out? It looks amazing.
Yes, I did, and I totally agree with you. This looks like a perfect games night where you invite all the guys and girls to all play this game and get whooped by Mr. Inferno, and I go brag on Twitter. This looks perfect. It looks exciting. That, like he said, the destructibility is this. I always want to see stuff like that, where all these effects and things popping up on screen, and then you can feel like you just knock a hole through the wall and get through it. This is cool. This looks like a blast, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. Like I said, I hope this turns out to be our new game night where we can just invite everybody to play this. This looks like a blast.
Absolutely. And Halo better pull its socks up with what's coming out at the moment. And the pedigree behind this, as I said, seems to be the creme de la creme out of DICE. And back in the day, when DICE was in its heyday, they were making amazing games with a great engine, great destructibility. This looks like they've absolutely nailing it. JediKnightPete, are you excited to get absolutely teabagged, trounced, and stomped on by me in this game?
Never going to happen. Shout out to Embark Studios. They have shown 2 games that have just come out of absolutely nowhere. Arc Raiders, where we featured on our Put This on Your Radar segment, looks absolutely amazing. And now the finals. This is a first-person, free-to-play multiplayer shooter, so you won't have to pay for it, and it's centered around like a game show and your contestants in a combat arena. Sounds really, really cool. I wasn't sure because I only saw that it was for Steam, but you guys have since told me that it's coming to Xbox. So yeah, look, the pedigree behind it, the fact that it's free to play, I'm definitely going to be there and check it out.
Absolutely. Hargeet, did you get a chance to check out the trailer? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. We'll see how it actually goes. It's a free to play, right? So hopefully it'll be good enough to actually compete with the other ones, and we'll see where it goes. Yeah, but it does look pretty good.
Awesome. And I will say to you guys, just so you know, if you do have a PC, you can sign up to play test this game if that's up your alley. I'll just link that in the description there. I think it's definitely a worthy game checking out, play testing. If they've already got a playable build, and if skill up, I do rate that man highly. He does generally have opinions that are on par with mine. So, and we do align on lots of things. So if he's telling me it's good, I generally have to believe it. Now, look, that brings us to the end of our show. It has been a bit of a long one, but a really good one. I've really enjoyed myself. We've had some amazing guests and obviously our amazing panelists. But Hargeet Chani, every time you come on, you take a bang on. Absolutely amazing. Smartest man in gaming and the most generous too. Please let the people know where they can find you and what you're looking forward to playing in the near future.
Yeah, so Game On Daily, check us out, gameondaily.com and youtube.com/gameondaily. I'll actually be on Keasante's podcast tomorrow in about 10 hours. And we'll talk about the subject we didn't talk about here. Let's get the one we did with Boom about the parody clause. But yeah, so check that out tomorrow or in 10 hours, whatever day it is for you. So yeah, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, I will try to make, this is the thing with Game On Daily, man, that it's like my 4 a.m, I think it kicks off, and it just absolutely kills me to get up that early. I do occasionally make it up that early, and I think this one's going to be a pretty good one. So I'd love to jump up and do it, but also go to the aggregate site and check that out. What they do there is they write their own material, but they also bring in material from a lot of the other sites as well. And you can post your own if you would like to try your hand at writing articles on some of the news. If you guys feel like that's something that you would like to do, you can jump over to Game On Daily and type out a news article or a video or whatever it is that you want to post. They will check it out and then they will post it if they think it's definitely up to scratch. And they're pretty good with. They've posted everything that I've put up there, and I really enjoy going to Game On Daily and checking out the site and seeing what's happening. It's one of the aggregate sites that I use regularly. Mr. Inferno Games, thank you for coming on. It's been a bit of a time coming. I really appreciate you giving us your time. There's a lot of time to give, and your takes are always amazing. Back in the day when we were in spaces, and it's great to finally get you on the show. So please let the people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to in the following week, and what you'll be playing or are looking forward to playing.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I've been wanting to come to this show. I'm proud of you guys for holding down this show, getting bigger, getting well-known names on here. It's great what you guys are doing over here. You can catch me on Twitter at Mr. Inferno Games with a Z at the end. I think next week I'll possibly be on Spooky and his show with Bushido and Charlie Hustle. Also, I have a channel possibly in the works, but be patient with me on that. I'm still getting that down. I have everybody pushing me to finally get that going, so I'll be doing that. As far as games go, like I told you guys, swimming. So after I'm done with Remnant from the Ashes, No More Heroes 3, I gotta support my Japanese games, especially when it's action. I'm more of an action guy myself. I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna finally finish Yakuza 6, move into Like a Dragon, and I'm just gonna go this full bore with a lot of Japanese games and Asian games too. That's my thing. I love supporting them, and I think we should do the best we can in supporting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming on the show again. Both you and Hargeet been absolutely amazing. JediKnightPete, another fire show. Just before I move to your outro, I will say, guys, if you want to find any of our guests, developer, or any of the panel on socials or on their channels or on their aggregate sites, you can check down in the description after the show. They will be linked there. Jedi Knight, fantastic show, mate. You always come on every week. Give fire takes. Most of them are wrong, but I accept you anyway.
Yeah, look, had a great show today. How good was Tyson? Absolutely amazing. So happy to see an Australian developer succeed. It's very difficult to get into that industry in Australia. So yeah, absolutely love that. Hargeet, what I mean, fifth time you've been on the show, something like that. Amazing as always, Mr. Inferno. It's taken way too long to get you on the show, man. And just shout out to you, brother. And I hope your channel is successful. I'm sure it will be with you behind it. Umbra, risk it. Yeah, amazing. You can find me on Twitter at JediKnightPete, on Xbox at JediKnightPete. I'm also going to be on Noof Nukem show. I think it's Tuesday for you guys in the States, Wednesday for me next week. So looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, shout out to Noof. I'm just hoping that he doesn't surprise you with a, I don't know, crap gamer or somebody.
He does a really good Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. Probably much better than mine.
Get to the chopper.
It's great. I started watching Noof when he kicked his channel back off, and it has been like hilarious. His After Dark show, great. Never miss it. They always have a laugh. Has some questionable guests, but I guess you've got to bring people in from different sides of the community so you don't have an echo chamber. Umbra, another fantastic week, week of news and takes. Thank you for coming on the show every week, holding us down. Let us know where we can find you, what you'll be up to, what you're looking forward to playing.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter under Umbra Infinite or Infinite Umbra. You'll find me either way. And of course, you can find me here 8 o'clock Eastern on Fridays and Xbox Factor with Boom and Fellas on Tuesday at 12 Eastern. And yeah, this was a long but great topic discussion here with you guys. And Hargeet and Inferno, we appreciate you guys coming through and giving us so much of your time, especially even during the developer discussion where you all remain quiet for so long too. And of course, a shout out to Tyson for coming through and gracing us and giving us a lot of his knowledge and being so breathless. I just don't know how he talked without pausing for so long. No, I'm joking. But yeah, much love to Tyson for coming through, and I hope to smash his skull in on Halo later when we get a chance.
I got a feeling he's going to hold you down. It's going to
bring Mac around. We'll bring Mac in.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Like,
that's why I'm so confident. I saw Mac round jump in the chat. I'm like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Mac, take care of my lightweight. Yeah, but no, thank you all, of course. My co-hosts, of course, for your great takes as usual. Just under mine as far as takes go. But yeah, thank you all for being you.
Definitely not. My takes are always.
And thank you, chat too. Much love to the chat.
Absolutely, and that was the last thing I was going to say to you guys. You chat has been absolutely amazing. One of the best. You get better and better every week with the new people. The older people have been holding us down for absolute years. We are on the push to 1,000 subscribers. So please let all your friends know, tell your grandma, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunties, get them all in here, get them to hit that subscribe button, push it to 1,000. That would be absolutely amazing. Every week, you guys are great. And I really do watch and try to get as much as involved as I can. I've made some tweaks to my setup to help me do that. So hopefully you guys have appreciated me being a little bit more involved in that chat. And once again, thank you to the panel, the guests. You guys have all been amazing. And we will see you all next week.
Peace.